And we're off, or is it on again, with Type 40 live extra reaction editions of the live stream Doctor Who magazine show up on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook. Your view screen is plastered with our faces and voices. Once again, this is where we talk about all things Doctor Who, of course, but these extra editions are focusing on those very latest episodes in real time and raw in the nicest possible way. Our panel made up of fans from across the generations and the globe here to get stuck into everything that's new. And yeah, he's here taking center stage. We finally met Mr. Ring a Ding, but did it ring your bell? How did Lux go down out there? We're going to find out right now on Type 40 Live. Really? We're doing this again? Oh, God, blimey. I don't know where the days are going, everybody. The TARDIS doors are open. There's that console in clear sight. And just me to get sighted on next. Yes, here I am. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. Can barely keep up. It's only week 2. Oh, yes. So how is everybody? I hope you're all well. Having a good day so far. We'll find out how your day's been in a short while, I don't doubt. Keep the comments flooding in by all means, and we're gonna be trading our opinions as the show goes on. Okay, who should we bring in first? Let's bring them on. Bring the usual crew on. So first of all, back again. I've seen more of her in the last 2 weeks than I have members of my own family. Joining me again in the console room, Charlotte Shields.
I know, it's sort of like we're going to become each other's like therapy buddies, I think, by the end.
It's well, we've been there before, haven't we? We have been there before. Yes, good to see you. How's your Saturday been?
Relatively quite good, but just Russell couldn't just help himself for some bits. It's like, oh, Russell,
well, how was the rest of it? How was the rest of it?
The rest of it, I actually found quite enjoyable.
No, I mean your day.
Oh, right.
We'll talk about the episode in a little while.
All
how
right.
was your day?
No, actually, I had some more. I've been having driving lessons and actually had a quite good one this morning, so that was good.
Oh, well done. Yeah. Fantastic stuff. That's exciting news. You have to keep us posted.
Actually, because she saw me coming out in the driving seat, and she was a bit surprised to see me, I think.
She hadn't realised you were having driving lessons?
Well, no, it's because it was the first time she'd seen me actually behind the wheel, if that makes sense.
10 to 2.
Yeah.
10 to 2, 4 marks to you. That's what they say, isn't it? Yeah. But it won't be long till you be trying to fly one of these things, will it?
But to be fair, I can't be much worse than the Doctor, can I? So...
Make sure you've got get all your kits to hand, of course. Do you own a Fez, Charlotte? I'm starting to think that maybe I'm the only Doctor Who fan who doesn't.
No. Luckily, I don't own anything that they were wearing in that scene, which I'm quite happy about. Not going to lie.
Well, neither of us have a Fez, but fortunately for us, Gary Akers has more than his fair share of headgear, and he's wearing all red. Even if he hasn't got the Fez on, he's got all red. So is it red for danger? Is it red for danger, Gary?
No, it's not. It's actually my Disney Medfield College shirt. But I do want to say, if one of those three had been wearing a cap, I'd be on the phone even now to my lawyer suing for copyright infringement.
You need to get your likeness registered, don't you?
That's right.
You never know when you're gonna turn up.
But no, I'm having a good Easter weekend. So, and I wish happy Easter out there to everybody.
Yeah. Happy Easter to all. We had a bit of an Easter celebration the other day on the show, but it's going to carry on. So there'll be various egg-related puns, I've no doubt, in between all the talk of Doctor Who, as always. So don't worry. If you're here for the Who, there'll be lots of that as we get cracking, I'm certain. We're going to fill out the panel with some more faces and voices. Some regulars, first of all, back again for a second week running. He just messaged me. He's buzzing to talk about things. I'm happy to welcome back Who addict, film addict, and a bit of a big gob, I'm happy to say, because that is how we like them here at Type 40 Live. James Wilson, welcome back.
Hi, guys. Hello there. How's it going? Very glad to be back.
That's a Billy and Johnny wave, isn't it?
Yes, I know. Hello. I was just trying to be as big and bombastic as possible. letting out my inner 11th Doctor there. So, hello.
Great to see you. How's your week been?
Good, yes. Only worked 2 shifts this week, which was nice. I put in 2 days holiday, so I've had like about 6 days off work, which is very nice. And I'm back again Monday morning. God help me. And so I've had a week of being pretty chill. Gone to the cinema a couple of times, but other than that, it's been a pretty damn good day. Yeah.
Chill out some more, or maybe not. Or rants or raves. It's all fine by us, James. As you know, all opinions are welcome here. But this TARDIS does look very, very chilly, doesn't it? It really looks like this. Chilly and chilled out.
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of, when I first saw that TARDIS in the 60th specials, it felt so wrong at first to have David Tennant in anything other than his original Coral TARDIS. That did feel a little bit wrong at first, but I'm beginning to warm to this TARDIS. It reminds me of, kind of like the sort of like clean and pristine kind of like Star Trek decks that I would see as a kid. It looks very sci-fi, and I love that the TARDIS is leaning more into sort of like classic science fiction, which I do love about that.
It is, yeah. It is very high tech when you see it from a distance. When you get up close, you think, "Hang on a minute, isn't that the air conditioner from a 4-Cortina?" But that's all part of the joy of Doctor Who. The other thing about having the lights up like this is, the lights were down low in the Coral TARDIS, and they got gratings and things like that. Lots of places where you could potentially hide Easter eggs, like this Ncuti Gatwa Easter egg here that's popped up from Andrew Mark Thompson there over on X, which is obviously a bit of a blast, literally from the past, and we'll be trading more Easter greetings. Of course we will, as the show goes on. We've got more people to bring on, I'm happy to say. Guests, panelists from all over the world and across the generations as well, including one real-life time traveller. Yes, he said he was out, but we've managed to pull him back in by his ring-a-ding. Bet that made your eyes water, Mr. Matt Potts.
Yes, I'm going to need a bit of therapy for this. I really am.
I'm amazed you're here. I'm going to be honest.
I'm amazed I'm here as well. Oh, my God.
I told
him to let you know, for this entire episode of Type 40, if there are any kids in the audience, please leave. Right now, just put them aside because, oh boy,
there you go, James,
am I gonna rip this another one.
Whether you've been chilled or riled, of course, everybody is welcome, and all views are welcome here at Type 40 Live. I'm
one night only, by the way. I'm not coming back for this.
He said that before.
No, I'm definitely not.
Okay, we have more. I'm happy to say. So this guy, we've had him on the channel before in a couple of live stream roundtables, I think they were. I've spoken to him several times. He's a good guy. He's also come in paraphernalia associated with one particular incarnation of the Doctor. Well, I say he has. His avatar has. You may have seen him across YouTube and on various channels, and his own channel too. It's the Golden Age Geek. We call him Goldie. Welcome to Type 40 Live, mate.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, it's great to be here. I've just got finished watching this episode about 20 minutes ago, so it's very fresh in my mind, and I'm glad to be on this installment of the show, because last week I was going to run through a wall. I mean, I was raging out of my mind, but yeah, this episode I can speak more positively in a way. I don't know whether it's because, for example, like last episode, that just annoyed me so much that it's affected my judgment. So anything that isn't as low as that is automatically good. But yeah, so I'll have a much more substantive opinion of this episode, and it won't just be being all emotional about it. So yeah, I'm really glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to this show.
From your point of view this week as well, Goldie, you've got some representation, because you're being animated, and there was an animated character actually in the cast of tonight's episode, so you must feel seen. Do you feel seen?
I feel very represented.
So the season's up and running. Most of us were here last week. Matt, I can't remember. Did you watch the opening episode? You didn't? So this he's in a great mood. But you did, Goldie. You're committed to watching the full run, are you? Or do you just watch the ones that sort of catch your eye and take your fancy?
No, I'm watching all of them. That's been my mindset, even going back to the Jodie era. I'm always going to watch these episodes because even if I don't really like them or anything, I'd much rather watch them and have an informed opinion rather than just going with the flow of what other people say. So that's what I always say with loads of people. If you're going to criticize something, make sure you actually watch all of it, have all the context. Otherwise, you're just spouting nonsense.
As a veteran podcaster, James, you're nodding your head there. That's wise, isn't it? That I very much agree with everything Goldie's just said. You've been obviously podcasting for years and years, haven't you, on various platforms?
Yeah, I mean, I very much agree with what he said there. I mean, I don't have anything against anybody that has sort of fallen out of love with the show and has decided not to watch it anymore. I certainly don't disagree with those people, but at the same time, I have a viewpoint of Russell T Davies might be on a bit of a bad stint right now, but I don't think that a good writer suddenly becomes bad, right? So, because he's done other great writing outside of Doctor Who, and I feel like his run in his first era was pretty strong. So, I honestly am in the mindset of what if a good episode comes along and I've missed it? And I'm missing out on the hype, and I'm missing out on the love for it. And this week is a perfect example of that. That an episode has came along that is actually good and has gotten me hyped for the show again. Even if it's just for 1 week, it's a week I'm glad I didn't miss. So I completely agree with him.
As you can see, a lot of us are buzzing, chomping at the bit to get it all out because episode 2 has just screened tonight on BBC One, and it's sort of traditional-ish time slot. They keep bumping it sort of by 10, 15 minutes, don't they? Here and there. It premiered this morning on BBC iPlayer and Disney Plus simultaneously, 8 a.m. UK time that was, and then 7:15 on Saturday, the 19th of April 2025. This latest season of Doctor Who making up 8 episodes. We're going to be here each and every week. Some of us. We'll see if we can hold the course, I think, and stay relatively sane. Tonight's episode 2, was another one written by Russell T Davies. I think he's still written the majority of this season. He's not exactly been firing on all thrusters lately, on form, as you could say, but who knows? This is very much our own after show to Doctor Who, Type 40 Live, sort of unleashed, if you like. So it'll be candid even by our standards. So just as the guys say there, be prepared to hear lots of varieties of opinions you may or may not agree with. I know in 2025, a variety of opinions here at Type 40 Live. And there's lots more in the playlists as well. Our previous live streams, hundreds of these things across various topics. Sometimes they're focused on one particular sort of story or actor or event. Other times we look at the news, and then now and again we have a good old rant. We clear the decks and have a good old rant about something that's really yanking our chains. All over there on the playlist, 200 plus editions of Type 40 Live with our various panelists. Get stuck in. I know, get stuck in. Look at this. Oh, blimey. Yes, they're quite this sort of Disney-fied version of the Doctor and Belinda there, sent in to us by one of the Type 40 Live community. This was sent in by the Thin King there. He was inspired before the episode even aired to create this fabulous piece of Doctor Who fan art. Let us know your opinions, of course, in the live chat on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. We'll see if we can make them even more startled, get those eyes even bigger. We've got a lot to cover. More people calling in later on as well to see whether it'll be, all tears or smiles. We have to wait and see as the As the review continues, line them up, Matt. I think you may need a drink.
I've got me milk. I'm right. I'm good.
I've got Miss Stella Artois.
Very sophisticated young man. Okay.
So you went into a phone box with a mobile
They
phone?
phoned me, it was raining. It was pouring with rain, that's why. So I wanted to get
So you went into a phone box and you had a mobile?
To cry in private.
I was hoping it was a TARDIS.
Swat. I know, crap.
Back in front of our screens, whether it was the telly or not, various screens, various different sizes, of course, when Doctor Who returned to TV last week. Get her home. That's the mission statement of the entire season, we believe. This is only week 2. The story seems to pick up directly after, or as near as, damn it, after the robot revolution with LUX by Russell T Davies. This is one that may well divide, I suspect, the panel for better or for worse. The TARDIS shuffling around, bouncing around here and there, can't seem to get where they need it to go. But we've got a synopsis here, which says that the Doctor's quest to get Belinda home takes the TARDIS to Miami in 1952, where an abandoned cinema is hiding a terrifying secret. Can the Doctor uncover LUX's power? LUX sounds to me like a laundry detergent, something you bung in the washing machine to make your whites that little bit whiter. Charlotte, I mean, let's check your smile. Is it white and bright and pointing up, or pointing down? Did you have a good time with this? Where are you feeling about this episode? Were you looking forward to it? And how do you feel now?
Well, I've sort of been saying in the Type 40 streams before this, I was intrigued with this episode. The whole animation angle, the possibilities that you could have with being in and out of 2D and 3D and all of that. I like the look of the villain. This was one of the villains in the trailers that I was like, that's inventive, that's different. Let's see what they do with it. And for a good chunk of this, I actually was quite enjoying this episode, because for me, there was core aspects which they had to get right, and I think they did a really good job. One was the time period, because I feel like last series, the 2 historicals didn't feel like historicals to me. They didn't feel like the time periods they were meant to be set in.
Particularly the 60s one.
Yeah, it just felt like window dressing. Whereas I feel like for this, with the whole cinema setting and the villain and the sort of the look of it and a lot of the aspects of the actual story, it felt like they were fully embracing the fact that this was 50s. And that you had, like I said, that unique animation angle.
Do you think it helps when they keep things simpler? Because obviously the Devil's Code was very elaborate, and it ended up feeling not like 1963 at all. It felt like 60s Weekend at Butlins. Whereas you're quite right, this is like very focused on one location. They're not running all over the place, and it's very clear what the threat is.
Yeah, and also because of the location, they could use the creepiness of it, and that's also what I liked. This had that sort of unsettling vibe for me, that creep vibe, that sort of, ooh, we don't quite know what's going to happen. Like the opening with the moon and like how he was on the screen and how he was like all chipper and nice. And then he was like, he turned and I was like, no, actually this could grab me. And
reminded me of Ian David Diaz.
And also, I was intrigued how they're going to handle the race stuff in this. Obviously, we've got a black actor now in the role, and that was my other complaint last series. I felt with 2 historicals and his race didn't get brought up once, only in the future, which I just felt what you're playing at. If you're going to have a black actor, actually commit to having a black actor. And here, I thought it was quite well handled. It was.
Does this stuff, as a general point, Charlotte, does that stuff, now we have a black man playing the Doctor, does that stuff play on your mind when you're watching this and when we go from episode to episode?
Only when it's a historical, and it would make sense that if he's walking around in this time period, it's either going to be at least a curiosity factor for people, or the more sort of harsh reality of what a black man would have to face.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was a bit like, oh, Russell, you need to do this well. And what I liked about how he handled it
Well, the
was...
thing, I mean, you don't really need to. Go on, Sarah, carry on.
No, but it's just, for me, this had to be handled very delicately. And the fact that...
Well, Charlotte, at the end of the day, Doctor Who is an adventure series, and they've only got so much screen time. So it's one thing to sort of to toy with a few sort of political ideas in the way that they have recently, and an entire story is constructed around ideologies. You know, we've talked about that till the cows come home. But the reason why a lot of it hasn't gelled in recent years is because the adventure is sort of put on the back foot to prioritize that kind of content, isn't it? And all the viewers that are remaining on it, us and the few casuals who still watch this, and hopefully the kids who get curious, all they really want to do is get stuck into a good time as quick as possible. They don't care.
Oh, yeah. And last week I felt it was forced. I felt the whole boyfriend stuff was forced, and the so-called incel stuff and all of that was really not... I hated that stuff last week. Whereas here, they brought up the historical stuff with segregation, the fact that they couldn't be in the calf technically, and like you had the reactions. But then you also had white people in the episode being portrayed as being helpful to the Doctor and like saying, yeah, I know about the rules, but I don't care.
Yeah, there was no antagonism at all. There was no feeling of any kind of pressure cooker environment or anything. They sort of accept the people. They just portrayed people in the best of lights, and that people sort of pull together.
They portrayed them as people. The sort of thing of like the guy in the calf. He was like, yeah, I know, but it's not any harm, and you're not, just come in, I don't care, sort of thing.
Because this was this wasn't exactly, because I did, you know me, I stay clear of all reviews, Gary, ahead. I never read, I certainly don't watch, and I don't take calls or even texts from anybody else about episodes before I watch them. But now and again, little things get through. And I did see somebody said, oh, this is an episode about segregation. This episode is not about segregation. No. It's ridiculous. And again,
he said it numerous times though during the episode, didn't he?
But it was
he mentions it, but that doesn't make the episode about segregation. It's totally different. For example, back in The Empty Child, that's set during the war, they mentioned rationing and food shortages several times. But The Empty Child isn't about rationing, is it, or food shortages? That's the difference. So Charlotte, you're generally fairly upbeat about this. Then you seem a lot happier than last week.
Well, yeah. Like I said, a lot of the stuff which I wanted this episode to deliver for me, it did. Like the atmosphere, the historical aspect. This is a villain that I think Cumming did a very good voice work here of being that chipper, like almost early Disney cartoon sort of vibe. And then he could get very dark and sort of turn on a dime. And I like that in villains. I sort of like it that when you don't quite know how they're going to act, like you can't quite peg what they're going to do. And I like the almost unpredictable nature of him.
He was maniacal, wasn't it? They did make a bit of a big deal about Alan Cumming voicing this character, and I thought it was good, but in many ways I thought they could have actually employed anybody to do that. It was a nice performance, but it could have been anyone. I didn't recognise his voice at all.
Oh yeah, no, I just thought it was just a good acting performance. It wasn't like an absolute superstar standout performance, not by any regard. So, and also. So like I said, but the stuff the only stuff for me where it sort of started to fall down was, I'm sorry, the fan scene for me. That was just, it took me out the episode because I was enjoying the mood, the atmosphere, the time period, how they were going to get out of sort of the danger. And for me, it was just a bit too, yes, this is meta now. this is breaking the fourth wall. And like some of the bits of dialogue, it was like, oh yeah, that's the whole. What's your favourite one? Blink, blink, blink. It was like, yeah, I get the joke.
Aren't you like that though, Charlotte, when you're watching the series?
But yeah, it felt like this is Russell's
You got a scarf
version.
and that on around, and you put your
Yeah.
fez on, and
His thing.
you're there holding your Sonic.
Well,
and you're like,
it's a caricature, isn't it, of people who hold watch parties, I suppose. A lot of people do that. They
for
make it a bit of a
me,
ritual.
That's why I couldn't stand Osgood for the majority of when she was in episodes, because she was too much on the nose of this is almost a fan insert character. So for me, it was, and I think at the current time right now, Russell having like R.I.P. Doctor Who and stuff like that, I was just like, it's not the right time to really have
in his defense, this would have probably been written about 2 years ago.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's
and
the
I think
whole thing.
But I think that when they were writing that, though, they had, when he would have been writing this, I know it might have fine-tuned it along the way, but they still wouldn't have screened the anniversary specials. So they had no reason, in their heads, they had no reason to not believe this wasn't all going to be a roaring success.
Yeah,
but it does. When does that scene come? Do you think it's about halfway through?
Yeah,
about 25 minutes in.
Yeah, and this is just a personal thing. When they revealed he was one of the Pantheon creatures or a harbinger, I don't care about that stuff personally, because for me, Russell's done nothing with it. He's just sort of stated these beings exist. He keeps.
In all fairness, again, I'm going to have to play devil's advocate. He does keep returning to it and bringing new characters out of the pack until I would assume this pantheon is assembled. Where he intends on going with it long term, I've no idea. But I think he is doing something with it. But what I do believe is that we are kind of seeing more or less variations on the same story every time he brings forth a new one. That concerns me a little. And I like Doctor Who being a fantasy show in itself, but using it to tell higher fantasy stories, I feel is a slightly different equation, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it.
Well, here's the thing: like in real life, I love Greek myth. I love sort of those sort of pantheons and gods.
Yeah, me
and
too.
what I love about them in the real life sort of version is they're all so different, and like they've all got relationships to each other, and they all mess around with each other, and they mess with humanity. There's so much richness, and that's what usually is the benefit of having a pantheon. You can have it, but for me, Russell's just kept them as like these very distant figures that are all powerful and can have these harbingers. And the problem is as well, for me, they're just different versions of crazy people. I'm not seeing, like, for me, the trickster, Jinx, and
obviously they can't make every episode about as I understand it, this is something that he intends on rolling out over a 4 or 5 season period. And I think if we were getting 13 or 14 a year, it'd be slightly different. But I sort of agree with you. I'd kind of forgotten about the Pantheon, and I'd forgotten that Sutekh was remotely related to it until this one. Let's see what James has got to say about this. I mean, listening to Charlotte there, it seems very 50-50 for you, Charlotte. But how about yourself, James?
I definitely understand Charlotte's opinions there, because there's something about this episode that genuinely feels like Russell had to continue with the whole Pantheon of Gods thing. And I honestly, before this episode, thought that he'd kind of wrapped all of that up. You know, like, yeah, I thought that, you know, being sort of with Sutekh, the god of death, being kind of built up since the trickster in the Giggle, and then with, you know, Jinx Monsoon's character, and then, you know, and then culminating in Sutekh. I honestly thought that had been done, that was, kind of completely, done and dusted.
Because Sutek was meant to be, as I understood it, Sutek was meant to be the biggest and the baddest of them all,
Yeah. So I thought that those pantheon of gods were kind of leading up to Sutek. And once that had happened, badly, Sutek was done badly, but once that had been done, I thought that we weren't really going to be exploring any more of those villains. So I do feel like Charlotte has a point in the case of that this sort of like god of light or whatever it was called, Mr. Ringading. I do feel like it was kind of unnecessary for that to be made a pantheon of gods. When I watched that, I was like, oh, okay, we're still making that a thing, and I didn't really see it as a reason to keep going with those villains. But it didn't really impact my liking of that villain or my liking of the episode as a whole. And in regards to the fan moment in the episode, I also see Charlotte's point, but I had honestly thought for years about Doctor Who doing something like this, being so meta, so breaking the fourth wall to the point where Deadpool would be looking at the episode going, okay, that's going a bit too far. But at the same time, I looked at that moment when they were breaking down the screen, stepped through the telly, and there were three fans, one wearing a fourth Doctor scarf, which I also have. So I felt a little bit personally attacked, and I did once have a fez, which kind of my mother threw out years later. I've still got to have a word with her about that. But I still very much enjoyed that moment. And seeing the Doctor Who DVDs lined up behind the Doctor, it was a brain-breaking moment, I felt. Having those fans sat there drinking from the Doctor Who mugs, wearing the shirts, wearing the merch, Doctor Who merch in the background on those shelves, and having the Doctor with a companion sat there, I cannot deny that I had to pause it just so I didn't enter the frickin' Twilight Zone. So I felt so amazed by that moment. And yeah, I don't know what Russell was intending with that moment, whether or not it was simply like Russell poking fun at the diehard fans. I'm hoping it wasn't. But that emotional moment where the fans were going, we don't exist and we're not real and all this, and then at the end of the episode, the credits roll and everything, and it pans back to the fans and saying, we're back, we're here, we're still here. I did think that moments like that were kind of lovely of Russell to do, but at the same time, I was a little bit apprehensive about it because I was also kind of going, Russell, what are you trying to do here? Because you've been taking the piss out of us for a while now. So you've been taking the piss out of us, and now you're trying to pretend that you love us. So what the hell? He's been taking the piss for 20 years. Yeah, 20 years. Something like that. Yeah. So I was kind of like, I don't know how to feel here. I feel like I am in one of those kind of crazy abusive relationships where the guy doesn't really love me and then pretends he does love me for a brief moment, and then I'm like, what the hell do I think now? So I don't know. That moment, it both like made me go crazy, but also made me question, like, what is he doing? What's his intention there? But yeah, still.
See, my worry, and I want to ask, come to Gary on this. Is there, because I think Charlotte's quite right. I think that when this sequence, however you feel about meta content like this, and however you take this as a fan, but I'm sure we'll come back to that in a little while, this did sort of puncture the middle of the story. Do you think that this could, Gary, overshadow the rest of the episode?
My guess is that for everyone on social media, I think this scene is going to be the flashpoint for the next week on social media. I think, you'll have fans taking umbrage at it. You'll have fans remarking about how, clever it was, how, premise stretching it was. I think this is going to be an absolutely Marmite scene for social media.
Because some people really love that stuff, don't they? And the people who do hold the watch parties, who do dress up, who do have the set snacks. There are people who do that. I'm not one of them. I think it's it could be a generational thing, or maybe a student orientated thing. I don't know, but I think you could be right, actually.
Well, I mean, focusing on this scene specifically, and not my general thoughts yet on the rest of the episode, but just since we're talking about, the meta scene, it wasn't possible for me to take his depiction of Who fans personally, since I just thought that the types of fans he chose was just kind of so lazy and just kind of, embarrassingly cringe of, fans who, probably he thinks have no life beyond the show. They're wearing fezzes and scarves, and Blink is their favorite episode. And I just thought, really, it's like, if you're going to go meta, go full out, not just the standard things that, we see all over the place. And I was perplexed by, the swelling music, which is telling us as viewers to feel so sad that we're going to lose these characters when they've already been told they're completely imaginary. So what are we supposed to feel with this swelling music that's supposed to start us crying? And my last thought, I just thought, if you go back to that picture, Dan, if you're going to go meta, at least do us fans the favor of having one of the collection sets on the shelf be the next one that's going to come out, so we know which one it is. At least throw us a bone that way.
Well, I do notice that 20 years ago, Russell cracked the joke about, she's read a website about the Doctor and she's a she. So pointing to the fact that there were the fan base was disproportionately male. The thing is, it still is. There's a lot more women in the fandom, certainly a lot more. And it is, I do notice that in this set of 3 fans that they put together, they made sure there was no white male here above the age of 30. Whereas we know, as has recently been found out on the YouGov poll, Matt, we know that most fans are still white males over 35, over 40.
This is the fantasy that Mr. Davies has, that this is his group. For him, these are his groupies. These are the people that come up to him and tell him how wonderful he is. And what he's doing to the show is magical.
That's what you mean.
And so this is his idea of a Doctor Who fan. And when they turned around and they said, "Rest in peace, Doctor Who," I wanted to punch the fucking screen. I was so enraged that I wanted to just reach in there myself, go all Ring style, which is what the Doctor did, by the way. Yeah. And it was just so ridiculous. Ridiculous. And
what made you so angry? Do you think it was just that bit too meta, or was it did you feel it was dismissive in some way?
Oh, extremely dismissive. But not only that, but he was taking the piss. He was taking the piss out of all of us people who have been around this show since the fucking dawn of time. This is a fine line,
isn't it? He's playing with fire here, Matt.
He's played with fire and he's tried to burn us all.
I didn't take it the way you did, but I completely see why some people would.
That scene, just look. I mean, I could see straight away, from the very beginning, that 5 minutes in the TARDIS, where Gatwa's mincing around like a twit. And then, even going, the clothes and everything. It's like, is this fucking Kenneth Williams?
Oh, but that's the
I'm sorry. No. Who fucking talks like that? talks like that. I don't go to a gay bar. I don't do all that shit.
Some people do talk like that, though, Matt. So,
Well, I don't fucking hang around with them, that's for sure.
the dynamic
And
between the two
You
two
cut me off,
co-leads
yeah.
of this. We can't. What I don't want to do is return to the same talking points that we've talked about 101
It's in
times.
the fucking episode, Dan.
No, Matt. What I'm talking about is the characterization of the Doctor. Yeah, I accept that it's not to your taste. I accept that it's not to your
It's in
taste.
the script.
But what I'm saying is, we've talked a lot about this incarnation of the Doctor.
Why can't he be fucking normal? Why cannot he just talk normal? Have a normal friggin'.
They've clearly cast this man because of his personality and what they feel he can bring to the part. It doesn't work for me either. But I feel that we should talk about the episode itself rather than the characterization again this week. If you follow me.
But then you look at the characterizations of the fans. I don't know anyone under 30 like that. I wouldn't hang around with them. They disgust me. I don't like that sort of person that just they're just so insufferable.
Okay, for my money, if we're going to look at the Doctor for a little while, I think this does build on. And you didn't see last week's. I think this builds on the work that it wasn't a leap forward from what we had in season 1, Goldie, last week, but I felt that Gatwa was way better last week than he'd ever been before, particularly in the quieter moments. And this was actually a much quieter story still, for the most part, it being, in the way that Charlotte described, a very confined location, only a few actual characters, and it had an intensity and an intimacy at certainly the two main halves of it that were, say, we got the stuff, the meta stuff in the middle, but all the stuff in the cinema actually felt, as I say, quite intense, quite isolating, claustrophobic at times, and Gatwa seemed to take his performance again right down and keep it there, keep quite focused. And I agree with you, Matt. I don't like the honeys, I don't like the babes, I don't like any of that stuff. But that's clearly the decisions that they've come to. So I think, I may not like it, but I'll sort of accept it for the time being. But with the choices that they've made, it's the same with the wardrobe. With the choices that they've made, is this a progression from how it's been before? And I thought that Gatwa was better, considerably better, again from last week. And I think part of it is the fact that it is very contained, far, far smaller. And again, I think the chemistry between him and Varada Setu is really helping him. I think she is making him better. You've heard everybody else speak, Goldie. What are your thoughts? You've heard how passionate Matt is about this, how it's really, really annoyed him. And James is a lot more upbeat. And Charlotte and Gary, I think, could be on the fence. Where do you? I know, but we'll open it all up in a little while. We've been going for 45 minutes, and Goldie's barely said a word. I would like Goldie to just give us his general mood.
Well, this was one of the episodes which, when I saw the episode title reveals and when people were piecing things together from the trailers and going, okay, this is going to be episode 1, this could be episode 2, I looked at this and thought that this was going to be one of the episodes that I was going to enjoy the most, because I mean, I have to admit, I'm a bit of a style of a substance fan anyway, so if you give me something with a cool looking production design, a good looking historical setting, I'm going to be intrigued. And overall, I would say that this episode is far better than last week's, which I can't stand. I'm not watching that ever again. So I think as an episode, this is far better. But when it comes to Ncuti's Doctor, I still think he's just the same as in practically every other episode he's been in, apart from Boom, which is the one episode where I've looked at his performance and gone, right, okay, I can see a bit of the Doctor in there, because I am of the opinion that Stephen Moffat understands the Doctor way better than Russell T Davies has ever understood him. Not to say that Russell's earlier stories don't show the Doctor being as we've known him throughout the classic era, but yeah, when it comes to this episode as well, I can't stand the honey, the babes, the darling, all of this stuff. And it's when people talk about the Doctor nowadays, there are people on either extremes who think that, oh, the Doctor has to be this very masculine figure, and I can see where they're coming from, but I kind of have a different take on it. So people who say that the Doctor was once this very masculine figure and he needs to return to that, well, the Doctor has always kind of presented the Doctor as this different kind of hero who doesn't use brute force, who does use his intelligence, who does have conversations to try and diffuse situations. But I do get where they're coming from, because the Doctor, up until Jodie, has always had this natural sort of stoicism and, you know, intimidation when it comes to the villains that he's confronting. And
as well, Goldie.
Yeah, and I don't see Ncuti possessing that. Now, that's partly down to his performance and also the writing. I'm not going to let the writers off, because at the end of the day, he's only bringing to life what's, you know, in the scripts. So yeah, when it comes to Ncuti as the Doctor, I was someone who was perfectly open to Ncuti. I was pleasantly surprised in the sense that I had no clue who he was when he was first announced, so I kind of saw that as a good and a bad thing, because you know, if he's really good as an actor, I was gonna really love him, and if he wasn't, I wasn't gonna like him. And I've kind of just come to the conclusion that I don't really see him as the Doctor. As I say, there are moments, but when it comes to the general characterization, I think that's something that Russell used to thrive at. Stephen Moffat had kind of these big bombastic plot ideas, and he used to be good at that, whereas Russell was better at the more sort of dialogue heavy scenes. He was good at making you intrigued in these characters and understanding who they are. And
you're not noticing. So would you say you're not noticing? I want to try and keep it focused on this episode. Are you not noticing any evolution this season at all? Did you find anything different in his responses? Because the Doctor didn't cry for the first time. The 15th Doctor didn't cry in this episode. Had you noticed that?
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did.
He did. He did.
Yeah, it was subtle. It was subtle, but it's when I think it
was cut out. Don't you think?
Oh, I didn't see. I did not see him cry.
I think it was slightly kept to the side, wasn't it, Goldie?
When him and Belinda are having a conversation with the technician guy who's running the cinema, there's kind of a wide shot, so it's not really close up on Ncuti. But if you look, and I believe it's when he's talking about his wife that died, you can see a slight tear coming out of the side of his eye. It's very subtle. I'll give him that, but he does.
That's very different. There's a totally different prospect.
But yeah, if you want to talk about how much attention's put on it, there's not much attention compared to the other stories. But yes, he does still cry. But I think, so when it comes to Ncuti's Doctor, I haven't seen an evolution or anything. I kind of just see him as the same sort of character. Whereas if you look at, you know, Tennant in his first season, then to the second season, you can see a clear progression and how he's evolved as a character. But also when it comes to Belinda as well, I don't find her to be likable at all. I mean, that last week's episode, she's just horrible. I mean, her and the Doctor have that lovely conversation where they're getting to know each other, and then that guy comes along and announces that he has a problem with her because he kind of sees her as being the cause of all of their problems. And then when the Doctor stands up and says, hey, stop talking to her like that, she like snaps back at him, I don't need you to fight my battles for me. Whereas she could have said something like, it's okay, Doctor, I've got this. So I just think in general, she just comes across as a bit rude.
Well, did you see any? Well, in the first week, she was yanked away from everything that she knew. I mean, but in this one, we were presented with the character still perhaps on the back foot, but kind of throwing herself in. She seems quite excited by the situation. And so I'm reminded of the beginning of The Unquiet Dead. In fact, I'm reminded of The Unquiet Dead quite a lot in this, in how Rose is still wary of the Doctor and can't quite believe in that, Gary, what she's experiencing and seeing. And so she does sort of veer. And I feel that the character of Belinda does in this. She's almost reveling in it, and she's responding in a very kind of in the moment way. But the danger when she's presented with it is so out of her experience that then you see those sort of the flickers, the humanity of this character, I feel, does come through, even though, like I said to Charlotte, they've kind of, you can't stay in. That's the frustration sometimes with Doctor Who, because you can't stay in those moments and in those mindsets for too long before the adventure before it clogs up the good time. Because Doctor Who, certainly in this form, in its 45, 50-minute form, has to have a kind of roller coaster-esque quality to it, doesn't it? I mean, Goldie, just did you enjoy this particular episode? Did you enjoy it, or did you feel that it's another one whereby it's still not gelling? It's not everything that could have been. What's your general framing of it?
Well, when it comes to how I rank anything, I know some people start at 0 out of 10 and then build up the merits from there. I kind of start at 5 out of 10 and then go, down to 4, 3, or 6 and 7, depending on what I see in the episode. And for this, I just kind of see it as a, bang in the middle, kind of 5 out of 10. I think there are a lot of good concepts, but I think had another writer been in charge, they would have done something different, and perhaps I would have liked it a bit more.
If you said you were anticipating it because the kind of story it looked like it was going to be, I mean, we can often be disappointed, can't we, by that? And because each collection of Doctor Who stories, they do try and please everybody, but you can't please everybody all of the time. I was the same. I was particularly looking forward to this one, and I do feel that it worked in some ways and not in others. But I generally had a really good time with it. I mean, so what are you coming away from it feeling like?
Well, if I had to summarize my feelings in a word, I'd just say okay, meh, it's all right. It's not offensive like some of the others. It's not brilliant either. But the first 5 minutes, whereas that pre-title sequence, that really does hook you in. I genuinely think that has a lot of merits. But it's just that middle part that a lot of you have brought up. That's where it kind of goes. But when it comes to Belinda, I kind of see her as a very inconsistent character, and I don't really know how I should feel about her because, we open the episode or after the titles, and she's like, you need to get me home. You need to get me home. I want to see my mum and dad. And then he's like, right, we're in the 50s now. And she's like, oh, we're in the 50s. Quick, let's go. And then she leaves and she's like, oh, this is amazing. And then he's like, okay, I've just used this device. We can get back to 2025. And she's like, well, let's go. He's like, no, can't do that. Yeah, we have to go check out this cinema. And she's like, oh, well, let's go in the cinema. And she's I don't really know what she's feeling at any given time because she kind of just changes on a whim. And now I know some people could say that's part of the comedy because she's
part of
she's after one thing and then
as well.
But I think Russell's done it much better before, and I just kind of see it as a bit amateurish in these stories. And I've said this to you, Dan, in regards to the other episodes in this era, but it's so weird because they're the same runtime as all the other episodes have been in the modern era, but for some reason they just seem to go at this very fast pace. And I don't know what it is because, as I say, the runtimes are exactly the same, but it feels like each episode is 5 minutes long and it's all just going so fast. And the funny thing is, even though it's got this increased budget, a lot of the episodes seem to take place in 1 or 2 rooms, and you'd think that kind of slow things down, but they all just go so fast, and I don't know what it is, but that could be subjective.
Yeah, I'm finding a lot of, I don't know what you're finding, Geek. It's the ends of these episodes. I feel like they sort of get wrapped up very quickly and resolved very quickly. And I know this Modern Who's been guilty of that in the past, but I'm noticing it more. Are you?
Yeah, I do, and I think it's also because of the fantasy that they're leaning into. Because with sci-fi, you'd have someone build some device, or there'd be some actual thing that goes on, then there's some scientific or sci-fi explanation. Whereas with the fantasy,
there'd be a moral statement or some sort of closing conclusion about whatever. Yeah.
Like with this, and because this one really leans into the fantasy, it's just, oh, there's so much light, he's gone off. Then that's it. The light comes, he's gone, that's it. Whereas with other episodes, you'd have the Doctor and his companion running around, chasing some, they're grabbing some item, they're going to deliver it back to the team they're working with, they're going to assemble it, they're going to confront the villain, they're going to, but with this and the other episodes, it's just, right, there we go, loads of light, he's gone, let's go.
One thing I've noticed is that since I haven't been watching the previous 2 episodes before this, going back into this, I've just realized tonight just how ineffectual this Doctor is. It just seems accidental the way that the whole story pans out. That he just doesn't seem to affect the story in any way whatsoever. He's just there, and it just didn't really, and it didn't make any sense with it either. So
Well, the
you know,
projectionist is the one that defeated him.
well, that and also the companion also had the, you know, it was like, oh, I better go and do this, you know, and so
and technically the fans gave him the clue. So yeah, it was a load of other people.
and also the
I
ghost
hadn't
gave
put
him the
this together,
matches.
but now you're all
Oh,
explaining
that's
this.
right.
You're absolutely right. I was sort of swept up by it, but now you're mentioning it, yeah.
And
he
I
was a bit
couldn't
of a
figure out.
passenger.
I don't want to sound nitpicky, since we're skipping ahead and talking about the ending. I mean, what I was confused why, if Lux knew that he needed light to ascend, why didn't he just walk outside anytime earlier in the episode?
I don't think he did know. I don't think.
I think he did know, but he knew that he'd probably if he had too much light, that he would become like he would just dissipate.
Right.
So, which is what exactly
more
what
than
happened.
that, the bigger thing that kind of bothered me, and at the end of the episode, I stopped and ran it back and watched this scene to make sure I was seeing it correctly. When all the film caught fire, spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it, when all the film caught fire and there was that explosion, the projection room was incinerated so much that it blew a hole. How did any of the people in that film strip survive? I went back and watched it. I was keeping my eyes on the film where it was when that fireball came in. I thought, no.
I thought that too.
Way.
I thought exactly that too.
And I was chatting with somebody because I'd sort of told them the ending, and then I didn't realize this. But afterwards, I was like, "Oh God!" And I was like, "Oh, he." They were like, "How did the villain get defeated then?" And I was like, "Too much light. Even though he was a being of light, he got too much." And then they said to me, "So he's basically done the Sutek thing again of the being of death gets killed by death." Yeah. And I was like, "Yeah, he's basically copied the Sutek thing, hasn't he?"
I mean, the joy of these reaction shows, rather than sort of more structured and purposeful and linear reviews, is that the conversations and the reactions can really go anywhere and everywhere. Because, I mean, I don't know when it was that you guys watched this. I watched this a very, very short time ago, so I'm still processing it. And so the attention to detail, again, I'm very impressed that you noticed that this room was here and that was there and that would have taken this out and that. You know, I didn't look at it in that way at all. I had a great time with this. Again, I had a really good time with this for the most part. Really enjoyed the episode. I liked the flavour of it. I like the intensity of it. I like the mood of it. And I think the two leads are coming on in every week on the strength of this. But again, when you stop and you sit and you sort of think about things, then, you know, you think, okay, well, maybe it wasn't as great as I thought. And I absolutely do think that as much as I was enjoying, I love the dynamic between these two. And I thought Linus Roach in particular was terrific as the projectionist. And I'd have loved to have seen more of this character, if anything, more. I mean, I know that you can't spend too much with a character like that because it's very simple, the place that he's in life and why. But I think we could have had a few more character beats with him, and ideally the Doctor, because I think there was there could have been a kind of kinship there, Matt, which would have, I think, again, given Gatwa chance to show a bit more dramatic chops. I'd rather the screen time had gone there than on the meta stuff, which I know that people are largely. I haven't, again, don't know what the social media reaction is like to this, but you're probably right.
Oh, they're loving it.
A lot of people are going to really love this. And so I'd have rather that not have been there and more character work to have been there, really. But then again, I'm all too aware that I can't have it all my own way.
But Dan, you've mentioned that certain things like the film strip, you didn't notice that, you weren't paying attention to those finer details, which is a fair thing because I didn't either.
Some things, but like not where different rooms are in relation to one another, and you know, I'm not that kind of person. Just don't look at things like that.
Yeah, and you know, what I was getting at is I'm someone who isn't like, well, I don't think of myself as extremely analytical. Like I don't, you know, note down every plot hole. I don't note down all these little things. Most of the time I have to have people tell me, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I don't even
notice that stuff until 2 or 3 watches into an episode usually.
but when it comes to certain things, like there was one instance in this episode which did kind of take me out, well, in addition to the meta stuff, but when Lux enters the projection room and turns around the cameras to zap the Doctor and Belinda and put them in the cartoon, So what he does, he turns around the cameras and the light shines on them for like good 10 seconds. And the doctor's there like, no, stop, don't do this. And I'm like, well, you could just slightly move to the right out of the range of the camera. Like something like that really stands out to me, which, as I say, usually when it comes to films and TV, I don't really nitpick
I can't remember that
things
at
like
all.
that.
Very good. Very good.
But the
Wow.
light shines on them for a good 10 seconds and they do nothing. They don't move slightly to the right or leave the room via the door next to them.
I wasn't, obviously, when, you know, I think a lot of us have mentioned this, and this is another reason why I asked Matt his opinion on it, is because we had this last week as well with the Beatles episode with The Devil's Chord. They kind of sold it or led us to believe it was going to be a musical episode, and it turns out it actually wasn't. There was a musical song and dance number at the end of what was largely a pretty normal episode. With this one, with Lux, somehow I'd got it into my head. Maybe they'd led me to believe it. I don't know. But I'd certainly got it into my head, James, that this was going to be an animated episode, or at least great parts of it would be. And yet it turned out that, with the exception of the antagonist, the other animated stuff was only 2 or 3 scenes. So this wasn't an animated episode at all.
Yeah, I mean, when I when I first saw that moment, and the Doctor and Belinda were briefly animated, I was pretty pleased that it didn't take up a great chunk of the episode, because I thought to myself, well, I've seen a great deal of Doctor Who animated stuff. I mean, I've seen a great deal of it. The animated missing episodes of the classic era with the first and second Doctors, I've seen that. I've seen some animated adventures with the 10th Doctor. I've played some of the PC games, some of the video games of Doctor Who that are quite animated too. And so I wasn't particularly too bothered about being let down with the whole animated thing. I feel like incorporating that into the live action aspect of it, and a villain using that against the Doctor and the companion, I felt like that was a quite original. And I felt like, you know, I mean, yeah, it felt a bit forced, saying sad things to each other, which would help them to gain more depth, which I found a bit funny, considering that Russell T Davies has been incapable of depth for a good long while now. But at the same time, I did very much enjoy that it was a way in which that this Doctor and this companion could get to know each other a little bit more. Yes, it felt a little bit forced, but at the same time, I felt like, you know, this was a great way in to these people getting to know each other, because both of them seem quite closed off and not very capable of actually saying things to each other and actually getting to know each other. They don't seem to want to get to know each other. The Doctor, despite, you know, how we got with the bi-generation, leaving the 14th Doctor to live his life and the 15th Doctor going off to time and space, the Doctor, despite seeming therapized and, you know, being much more open with his emotions, the Doctor is and always will be kind of a little bit closed off, and will always kind of hesitate to talk about his past with Gallifrey and what have you.
I got the impression, James. I got the impression, James, as well, that he's very well aware that this is serious for Belinda and she does need to get home. Yeah. So he sets about the task at hand and tells her what he's doing with that Vindicator, what he's doing, why he's doing it, how long he expects it to take. I think he doesn't expect that she's going to be with him long enough for them to get to know one another too much. And so I think that could be one of the reasons why he's quite uncharacteristically closed-lipped. But
the thing that I really liked was that moment in the TARDIS where the Doctor is building the Vindicator and Belinda is talking about, you know, why don't we go to Time Lordia, and Belinda and the Doctor's just like, God, I wish it was called that, but no, it's called Gallifrey, and all this. And I liked the moment where the Doctor was kind of like wanting to hold off on the conversation about, you know, Gallifrey, and that he's the last of the Time Lords, that he fought in a time war long ago, and all of this. I kind of liked that, because that kind of, I felt something really relatable to that, because when something really traumatic or really awful has happened in my life, I don't know about any of you, but when something awful has happened to me in my life, I hold off talking about it because I know that that's going to U-turn the conversation and it's going to make me have to like talk about it for the next bloody hour. So I'm just like, yeah, sure, my planet's still around. Like, you know, you don't want to talk about it because you know it's going to take up a lot of time and a lot
It
of...
reminded me of the Ninth Doctor. Something happened. That's what something happened. There was a war and we lost. As if to say that's all you really need to know.
Yes,
And again, although the characterization is very, very different, it's a kind of a similar thing.
Yes, the Doctor has been known to kind of like cliff note his past, you know, give brief little descriptions, not really divulge too much, just because it simply seems easier for him. Maybe it's less painful. I don't know, but I can only speak for myself. But when some bad stuff's happened in my life, I try and not talk about it so much because I know it's gonna like take up a lot of time. And a lot of emotional battery is going to be worn down talking about it. So I can sort of relate to the Doctor in that scene, really.
A lot of people find talking therapeutic, Gary.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, for me, though, I'm already kind of tired of the whole can we go thing, you know, rather than just kind of embracing the adventure. Clearly, the Doctor's doing what he can to get her home. But then they arrive in the 50s, decades before she was even born. I actually think they missed an opportunity for Belinda to do a clever little like Back to the Future joke, because all the cars look, it's like, oh, are we in Back to the Future, whatever, because the time period is pretty much the same. But, you know, even when they hear about the spooky haunted theater, and she's like, yeah, that's all interesting. Can we go? It's like, okay, I understand that that's kind of your main concern, but the kind of harping on and on and on about it whenever possible, I'm already kind of tired of.
I mean, you got to...
Sorry, go on.
No, you're right. It's just that when they step out of the TARDIS and within 2 minutes she wants to go back... She wants to go back home. It's like, well, you just got all dressed up to go out. So why all of a sudden do you want to go out again? But then it's also her attitude with like, oh, when she sees Rock Hudson's name up on the thing, it's like, oh, it's so terrible what happened to him, you know? Okay. And I'm like, oh, I wonder why Russell's bringing this up now in his writing. Gee, I wonder why, you know?
Matt, it was a flashback to 2006, wasn't it? And what they used to call the gay agenda. I mean, firstly, before we go on, I want to say thank you to the costume designer here for Belinda's dress. A great highlight for me. Up there with certain moments with Nicola Bryant in the mid-80s. This was absolutely wonderful stuff.
You're not kidding.
More of this, please.
I've got to say something about the costume and the hair design and all of that. I loved, because I spoke with Dan about this a good hour before we came onto this live stream, and basically we likened it to the episode The Idiot's Lantern. And I don't know if anyone else saw that, like the kind of similarities between that episode and this. Maybe it was the time period and the fact that it's got some relevance to a screen. But I just loved that the Doctor and the companion. Well, at least the Doctor, the 15th Doctor, went through a lot more effort to be part of like the decade than the 10th Doctor did in the Idiot's Lantern. Like the 10th Doctor,
some more brill cream in.
Yeah, exactly. The 10th Doctor, all he did was just kind of like do his hair up, and it was the same exact suit that he's worn every episode since before then. So I loved that the 15th Doctor does kind of dedicate himself more to the decade he's in. There's a lot more effort with the costume and the hair design, and he's a lot more passionate about, I want to look the part when I go to these certain decades, and it's a lot better than it was in The Idiot's Lantern, which, like I said, just a change of hair and the same old blooming suit.
I mean, even though I'm a guy who thinks the Doctor should have that silhouette pretty much wherever he goes, if the Mr. Ben route is the way they're going down, the road they're going down. I think this has been the most successful of them all, of all the things that they've done. I think Ncuti wears it particularly well, and it does seem to me something like when the Capaldi Doctor wears the black tie and white, the kind of tuxedo look in Murder Mummy on the Orient Express.
Yeah,
It's like that, so it kind of works. Before we get into too much else, we've got to check in with the live chat in a little while as well. I can't believe how the show is motoring on. I want to bring, because we've got several people who are going to be popping in as the show goes on. He's just finished his own live stream there on YouTube. I'm happy to say that we're being visited by somebody who's definitely not two-dimensional. He's not even three-dimensional. I think he's fourth or fifth dimensional, maybe even more. The rabbi from another planet, Sfila Betkin. Have you had a good night or a bad night, mate? Welcome.
Hello.
Oh, man.
Thanks for calling in.
Okay, fine.
How's your night?
I've never been on the stream with you before. I fundamentally disagree with your point just now. I want to say, before I go into it, I thought they had a lot of brilliant ideas in the episode, and I think that's a real tragedy, because the ideas were brilliant, right? Absolutely brilliant. I just thought
That's what attracted Goldie and several of us.
Right. I think the writing of it was tired and weak. I think the acting, generally speaking, was poor, with the exception of Verada Sithu. He is like nails on a chalkboard to me. Like they make him gayer every episode, right? I can just a gay Doctor Who doesn't work, right? Like a flaming gay Doctor who minces around doesn't work, and who's into the clothes. Okay, so here's where I did disagree. And again, look, people are different, obviously, but here's where I disagree with you. I love the Idiot's Lantern, where he didn't change his clothes, just brilled up his hair. Because I like the way the Doctor is able to slot himself into anywhere, anytime, and is always accepted. And I felt the mention of the only reason I objected somewhat to the mention of the segregation is, yes, obviously that happened and that was bad. I agree with you, but I think there's a definite push to cast white people as being uniquely awful. Where, like, I'm sorry, most of the people who sold slaves were black. It's just like, stop pretending it's only one group of people.
There's only so much they can. We wouldn't want them to labour any of that. This is, we're the first ones, aren't we, to say this isn't territory that Doctor Who shouldn't really go anywhere near.
Right. It's just like, for what? Anyway, so but anyway, no, I was going to say that let's say, okay, my cat's in, I want to let it outside. Can you wait for a second? Let's say the Doctor did show up in like segregation, wherever, in America, and he fits in seamlessly like he normally does, and they understand he's black, right? And it's just like, it makes them conceptualize their personal prejudices. I think that's a way of being much more honest and making the point. The good bit about this was the people in the actual episode were all nice and like, oh yeah, please come and sit down, have a coffee.
Well, if they'd have devoted any more screen time to that or any dialogue to that, it would have just bogged down the episode, and it would have become an episode about segregation. And this episode is not about any topical. It's not about anything political at all. It's not about anything ideological. It's largely kind of a great big kind of Ghostbusters style adventure, which is punctured right in the middle with a meta sequence about Doctor Who fans.
That was weird. I mean, it was just weird. I know none of them.
Which one did you identify the most with, Rabbi, of the three fans that did?
Yeah, I mean, come on, really? That was a weird group of. I mean, like, nobody has pristine unit T-shirts and Tellus T-shirts.
That was a bit strange. It should have been
worn a lot.
There should have been a pot noodle stain down there. Should have been something like that going on. Do you think that scene will live on in sort of fan legend and be all of?
No, I don't think any of this is. Honestly, I think 10 years from now, no one's going to think of Doctor Who past Peter Capaldi. And whatever new they're doing with it. I think, look, I'm sorry, he's just not the Doctor. Like, why do a mincing queer Doctor? I'm sorry, mincing queer. If you want to do a mincing queer hero, go ahead, fine. But there's no way you can shoehorn that into Doctor Bloody Who, right? Once you sorry,
James.
I'm done.
Sorry, I gotta say, The Doctor's one of those unique heroes, though, isn't he? Where the Doctor can regenerate into all sorts of different people of all sorts of different personalities. It's not like making James Bond, as you say, quincing and queer, and a black guy and saying babes and saying yes queen and all that. It's not like making. It's not like. Hang on a sec. It's not like making James Bond that. It's not like making Sherlock Holmes that. The Doctor is a unique being in science fiction and in fiction in general, where every actor that comes in can come in and do their own thing, Peter Capaldi can come in and be the grumpy grey-haired guy, the grey-haired Scotsman. David Tennant can come in and be the handsome spiky-haired, skinny suit-wearing guy. Matt Smith can be the floppy-haired mad professor type, and there's all sorts of different personalities, all sorts of different things that the Doctor can be. There's an entire spectrum of things that the Doctor can be. The Doctor can be played. I remember seeing somewhere where Helen Mirren was a possibility to play the Doctor, and I thought, you know what?
I have to say, I largely agree with you. Wait a second. No, wait a minute, please, Rabbi. I just want to say that I do largely agree with what you're saying there, James. And I think the kind of Fae quality can work with this character in a way that it couldn't with any other. And what I said earlier on, again, I don't want to talk about the characterization too much because that's not unique to this episode. But what was unique to this episode, again, were quieter moments like this, which I felt, Gary, were, if not solemn, where the Doctor was a listener of other people, somewhere he listened to their problems and processed them, allowed them to have their moment to sort of speak these things out loud, and he listened intently. And whilst this doesn't give this incarnation of the character any kind of reprieve or shortcut him to greatness or to the Mount Rushmore of Doctors, that's what I mean by seeing an incremental improvement. The quieter the character gets, the less he says and the less he jives around. But strangely, the more I'm convinced.
You're 100. I 100% agree with you there, Dan.
I agree with that, Dan, because what you're describing to me is that when he acts in a way,
it's not much of it, but there's enough.
But when he acts in a way that is consistent with what we think of as the Doctor. As you just said, it feels right. But in the instances like Matt's pointed out, like Rabbi's pointed out, which are just so off the rails from what we've considered as the Doctor, even with the different levels of portrayal that James was referring to, from Hartnell through Capaldi, there was still a consistency there in terms of the characterization that carried on throughout all of the different interpretations of the character, which is not there now.
Exactly. James, the issue is this: anyone can play Doctor Who, right? I agree with you. It could look and sound like, the question is it a good idea? Would it be a good idea to have one dressed and look exactly like Adolf Hitler play Doctor Who, right? And actually kind of be a little bit, you could do it. Why not? No, I think that probably wouldn't be fun. I don't think that would work for a lot of people. And you've got to ask yourself, is a very, very gay Doctor Who a good idea in the world of 2025? When the world has totally turned away from, for want of a better word, wokeness, right? The world has gone, enough already, shut up. Everyone voted and left, right? It's ridiculous. You mentioned
this was a quieter turn. This did feel quieter. Didn't you feel this felt?
No, okay. Well, talking generally, for me, he's nails on chalkboard. There's great ideas in the episode. I thought the villain was freaking awesome. I thought how he bounced off the spoon was stupid. That annoyed me. But the villain was awesome. I think they could have done more with the breaking the realms of reality. Although I said on my stream,
so do I.
You always know when a franchise is out of steam when it starts breaking its fourth wall, right? That's always a sign of it's not going well creatively.
I know I've been quite negative about this series, like for this episode, but the one thing that I can't be negative about is the production value.
Absolutely,
the animation is top notch as far as I'm concerned. As an animator myself and working in the animation industry, and that this looks like it's actually a bit of love has been put into this. You
It's
know,
impressed me as well, Matt.
there has been real production value put into this character, and when he becomes 3D towards the end, and you have that grotesqueness of what he looks like when he's more humanified, I guess is what you could say. I mean, it goes beyond Pixar, doesn't it? It goes to the point where there's a
He's got like plaque on his teeth, hadn't he? And a kind of bloodshot eyes and things.
Right.
Literally a grotesque. That's what it is. And it's like, you know, you could see that the transition works. I was a bit worried they might go the whole just Pixar, but they didn't. They went to make him ultralistic. But then suddenly he just totally floated off into, like, you know, I expected him to be more of a Mixier's Pitalik character. You know, just a little bit more
from Superman.
Yes. So Mr. Mixier's Pitalik is from another dimension. So, you know, I was expecting flowers
when they do the meta stuff, it's not just the mood that changes, but the villain exits almost completely. You think if the fans had been aware of him, but they seem oblivious to the actual villain of the piece, and so I forgot about him for the time that those fans were on screen. And that can't be good. I was taken out of it. And bear in mind that I was loving it up until that point. I really loved this episode. And
the fact was that also because of the monetary value, that I was surprised by how much he was on screen for the screen time for him. So the fact is that I could see that the money was being spent in.
Matt, the fact that they walked around him as well, little things like that, was beautifully done.
The rotoscoping, it was really well done, and I can't say anything negative about that. It's just, but I thought, geez, could you imagine if this had been a Matt Smith episode or of a Capaldi being in that space instead of this mince, you know? I just thought, and the way he acts, as if, he's a cartoon, you know? And it's like, the Doctor would not say that. He is a being. He is another being. He wouldn't just categorize him in that way, you know? It's like, oh my God, there's an octopus, you know? It's got 8 arms, you know? He wouldn't do that. He'd treat it as a being. And he doesn't do this. It's like he just has this, and her. I can understand her because that's all she knows. So she'd be, and that's a difference. There's no differentiate between the freaking two. They're both companions to me. He's not.
You're 100% right. Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. None of them feel
We've got another opinion to bring in, and another voice from across YouTube. Legendary Who tuber, if you like, the big bad man of... is he one of the pantheon of Who tubers? I don't know. I think he's wrapped up making his videos. Eager to come on.
He's a legend.
And say his piece for a little while at least. It's the one and only Bolstrek, otherwise known as our mate Chris. All right, Chris, have you had a good day or a bad day?
Hi.
Have you had a good day or a bad day, mate?
I'll let you all take a guess. It's been great. Awesome.
How many times so far, Chris? Watching.
I'm halfway through the video. I did the first little bit. Voiceover.
Because last week you said you watched it 3. Last week you watched it 3 times. I was just curious.
I've only been through it twice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just the twice. So how are you feeling about it this week? I mean, is it something you're just watching to make content about, or are you able to watch this and sort of weigh it up and appraise it in any way? I think the panel, I think we're pretty mixed on this. A couple of people really, really enjoyed it. A couple of us were incensed by it. And there's lots in between as well. I think it seems to have gone down better than last week, but I certainly don't know what the reception has been out there in fandom. I mean, or how do you view it? Where are you at with this without spoiling your own video, obviously, which will be no doubt out soon?
Oh, it'll be fun. First, say hello to everyone. Charlotte, Gary, hello. Golden Age, Matt, Svi. I guess I'd chase James away. The episode starts with a picture of Dr. Nutty's crotch. So I think that was indicative of what we were headed for. They stole my line, RAP Doctor Who. So I'd like some credit for that. So I should have been.
I was
in the
wondering
end
who
credits.
conceived of that.
Ding Dong, or whatever his name was, he looked fine. I'll agree with Matt. That was the one good thing. Yeah, it's yeah, it was just
Because
great.
you do like scary stuff. Though I mean, broadly speaking, you're a big horror man, a great horror fan. I would imagine that a lot of the real landmark Doctor Who stories for you as a child would have been the scary ones. I mean, I think that if my kids had been quite young, if they'd have still been the age they were when the Tennant stories were on, I think this would have terrified my kids. I thought there was a lot of old school scares in this, like creaky doors and low lighting, and a kind of a mood of impending doom for a little while, and then a really maniacal villain that was well realized. Do you think there was any worth in any of that?
No. he looked fine. The cartoon guy looked fine. They did it better in Roger Rabbit.
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, there's that. So there you go. I did say one nice thing. That's the one nice thing. Diversity hire number 6 is still insufferable, but hilariously so. So I did enjoy that.
Wait, which was number 6?
Well, no, she's number 6. Diversity number 5 goes way back to my woke Batman reviews from how many years ago was that? 2019.
I didn't know who we're talking about. Which one's number 6?
Which one's number 6?
Mm-hmm.
The most wonderful, most positive companion ever. The one that's just a bundle of joy.
I like her. Honestly, I think. I mean, I look. Okay, this tonight's episode, she's obviously on a journey of relaxing and being more into a companion, right? And that's what this tonight's episode was for her. She normally does. Oh, she looks fantastic. I mean, look at her. But she normally does what she has to do. She looks fantastic. She's fighting for the dads, and yes, she is. All right, and she had quite a good arc for the episode, where she finally relaxed into adventuring through space and time, which she wasn't up for beforehand. But I think she's good. A lot of the stuff is good about this series. It's just is built on quicksand, and I was talking before about how much I don't like Shooty Gatwa's portrayal, how inauthentic I feel it is. I don't know. Is it as bad as Jodie's? I really don't know. But I just don't believe him as a doctor.
Yep.
Can I just say thank you to Dan for all the Verada pictures? I really appreciate it. Seriously.
See, I'm on the total different scale. I do not find her attractive whatsoever. She's got a nice bod. The bod's okay.
Oh,
but
what?
Okay, I just want to acknowledge. I just want to say.
No, she's not. To me, she's on. Sorry, you go.
Just for one moment, I want to say thank you to James Wilson for coming on the show. I knew that he probably wouldn't last the whole show because he's on his phone and he's lost his charge. So
so oddly enough,
okay.
The second, his phone mysteriously dies for the second week in a row as soon as I show up.
Yeah,
sorry, but no. Sorry, James, but if you want to be a pussy, fuck you. So anyways, go on.
I don't know.
Please, Chris.
Come back from it. Charlotte, we need you now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Charlotte.
We need you as something.
We've only got you for another half hour, Charlotte, so it's all yours.
We've got some comments. We haven't even connected with the live chat either about any of this. So many opinions sort of flying around. It's great conversation. And obviously this, I think we've actually had more to say about this one than we have about the previous one too, which is a surprise.
No, I think there was more story here. There was more character work than last week. Whether that's, like, for example, the last week, all the sort of the characters that weren't the Doctor, Belinda, or the boyfriend had no hardly anything to them. They were just there to fill a spot or for us to cry and feel sorry about them. Whereas in this one, you had the mother. The scene when she was waiting for her son in the calf, which I thought it's not the most like amazing background character, but actually I appreciated that had a bit of something to it. The fact that there's this mother who was grieving for her son, who was being dedicated, that she would sit there every night for her son, that she was willing to have Shooty listen to her. That sort of, and Russell's done this in the past quite well, so I'm not surprised actually.
She was so desperate to see her son, she was willing to talk to Shooty Gatwa. That shows you her dedication as a mother.
And then you had the projectionist that actually I really took to that character. Like that was one of those characters that I wanted more scenes, like you, Dan. I think you could have sacrificed good little chunks of this and given him more screen time.
Yeah, the 45-minute runtime, which is like 5 minutes less than it was before, really has hurt it.
Oh yeah.
The other thing, Charlotte, that struck me. The other thing that struck me is that, and this is, I haven't thought about this too much, and I've never gone back and rewatched them, but during season 1, and then I think it came up again at the Christmas special, was the idea that Boom was the episode, I think, Chris, whereby, and I think I spoke about it with you too as well, Rabbi, whereby a great many people took it, the content, the themes of that episode and the way that the Doctor responded, I think a lot of people took it that this incarnation of the Doctor, and more to the point, Russell T Davies, was against faith as a concept and as something for people to value and to follow a faith of any kind. But I did notice that mother, when she's reunited with her son at the end of the episode, does say, well, I did write this down actually, but where did I write that down? And she's like holding him, and she says something along the lines of, "No, I kept faith, or and you came back to me," something like that.
Yeah.
It was something along those lines, Gary. I mean, Russell T Davies as a writer, he can be a little somewhat of a contrarian, can't he? He can. That was
a very nice moment. I thought, as Charlotte said, the scene where, the Doctor's just listening to the mom, I thought that was very nice. I wanted to ask Charlotte, did you notice what I thought was a very subtle but very nice moment, that when the projectionist starts dancing with his wife, that she's in black and white?
Yeah, that was very well done.
And then when they spin it around, then she becomes color. I thought they didn't need to do that, but I thought that was a really nice little.
But my question is, how did she turn back up at the end? Is that going to be a plot?
It was a ghost.
Vision.
It is vision.
It was a ghost.
Or is that plot?
Yeah,
is that
a vision with matches?
That'd be with the matches. Exactly.
So I wondered about.
We will see.
Squirrel.
I wondered about that.
Exactly.
I wondered about that. But again, this is the problem that I do still have with this. And I think that Doctor Who, as a format, Chris, I think it's long overdue a major overhaul away from these 50 minutes. Is that it moves so quickly? Is that I noted that with is this a ghost? She's just like matches. She's holding matches. But I wondered, was she made of light, and was she manifest by lux?
Exactly.
Was that some sort of product? But they never say.
What he could have said?
To the next bit.
Well, you're dead. You go in and you light it on fire.
Wait, so did the projectionist not survive?
He didn't see him die, but the room blew up.
All right, I wasn't
conveniently so the sun could come in.
What I liked about his character
that's modern TV for you, though, isn't it? Everything's always on the nose.
Yeah, I'm starting to think this is probably not the show for me. I can understand that.
You mean Chris? You mean Doctor Who or this stream?
How long, Chris?
I'm trying to understand why people are trying to convince themselves that they like this. Yes, the animation.
I enjoyed it, Chris.
Fine.
I wouldn't lie about that. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this a lot. I wouldn't lie about that, but exaggerated it anyway. But I do obviously. I didn't like all of it, and the problems that I have with the series do remain. They're very much still evident.
See, when I was watching this, I was thinking, if you take out all the preachy bits, where they go on about segregation and that, and there if you see
Well, no,
it
of course they did, Matt.
Wait a
That's
minute.
what
Yeah,
this entire show is about. It's
but
basically
there has to be some.
created by
I
a
think
bunch
if we
of
call that dialogue preaching, then our level of tolerance is like
it goes beyond. It goes
ridiculous.
beyond the
No, Dan,
dialogue,
they're talking
though.
about the
It
second
starts as soon as they
dialogue.
leave the TARDIS.
Dan, they're talking about the
it's-
second one, not
we
You
the
don't
knew
think
it
it's a
was- we knew it was
responsible thing
coming
to
up.
do? You don't think it's a responsible, thing for him to do to tell the person in his care that a potential situation could occur, or not to worry about that because he's already made allowances for
As soon as we get into
It's
the
going to happen
diners,
with him
like,
in there
it's
anyway.
segregated. I'm like, Dan, I am honestly so sick of this shit. I'm like, this is a preaching show made by a bunch of elitist shills in their little
for the most
club
part,
of
editorial.
pick-me girls.
Editorial, I agree with you.
It's like it wasn't needed. This show is dying, and of course, RTD. I don't even know if he wrote this one or not. I really don't care.
Yeah,
Had
He
to
did.
take a he did. So he had to take a little shot at the fans. Hashtag RIP Doctor Who. It's like,
Well,
you can-
you know what? I have to say, what I thought when I saw that was that famous meme where the guy's crying and he's put a happy face on. Is on the outside. You know that meme? You got like the smiley face mask over the guy's really crying. Did you see that?
I'm seeing a lot of desperation out there. People who are desperate to see this show continue, desperate to pretend themselves, desperate to pretend things are just great. But of course, you can't talk about these people because they're, you still got the same shilling YouTubers out there trying to pretend nothing's wrong, trying to pretend it's great. Then you have little pussies whose phone dies and then runs away. Sorry, but you know what? You have an issue with me. Be a man. Don't be a fucking wimp, you piece of shit. Sorry, Dan, but I'm a little pissed off. I just,
yeah, I understand where you.
I
understand where you're coming
probably I probably, this is probably the last week I'm going to, like, I'll do the Facebook, but I think this is the last time I'm going to be on this particular stream. I don't like talking about Doctor Who. There's a reason I don't.
No,
I'm tired of people trying to pretend this shit is good. I'm tired of the desperation. So, nothing personal to anyone here, but no, this is not good. This is an insult to the fans. They couldn't go one episode with ideological drivel. So,
do you think this? I mean, the sequence where there's actually fans on screen. Do you think the fandom will? Because I haven't seen the reaction to this. I've heard people on the panel say that that a lot of people are jumping all over it and are quite excited about it. But I think that could be a particular kind of fan. Do you think just as many people, if not more so, could react to it, read it negatively?
Yeah, this is negative. All this is nothing but taking a dump on the heads of people that got RTD where he is. People who supported this show for decades. And I'm sorry. This is shit. I'm like, people, stop deluding yourselves thinking that this isn't trash. Yeah, the cartoon Ding Dong looked fine. But other than that, I'm sorry. This is shit.
These fans did look awful. I have to. These fans really looked like just so artificial and unreal. And look, they're so clean.
These are Russell's fans.
Yeah, well, these are
right.
the fans.
He should have just cast
these
them.
are the
He should have cast them, not just bricks from YouTube.
Like this is what he caters to. It's you've got the handful of elitist plonks.
Yeah, look, honestly, if you want to sort of see what real fandom looks like, it's a guy sitting with his grandkids watching Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it.
Well, yeah, I did wonder. I did wonder about
James, if you're watching, be a fucking pussy. Don't be a fucking pussy. Get on the stream. Tell me what you think of me to my face. Fucking coward. Sorry.
I will say that I do want to say really quickly.
I know Dan probably won't invite me back anyway after this, but you know what? I've fucking had it with these people. Like, I have fucking had it. Like, you're a fucking joke. Okay, go on.
No, I was just gonna say that for those fans, like I said before, I'm surprised that he leaned into the most obvious iconography that anybody who has even heard of the show associates with, the scarf, the fez, etc., and not come up with something a little bit more imaginative in terms of like find other icons. Maybe have the male guy, if he's a shooty Doctor Who fan, not be wearing pants or something like that. If they want to kind of
think,
go
Gary,
meta.
that 35 years ago we thought that WizKid was a bit much.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I say the same thing about her. She always irritated me.
Yep.
I'm actually, talking about
works.
WizKid, Dan, it's so funny that you put that up. I started wondering, if the end game of all of this, the Pantheon thing that Charlotte was talking about before, I've been wondering if the end game is going to be the gods of Ragnarok coming back.
No, the end game is Doctor Who becoming a god.
Well, but you know what I mean. I mean, in terms of...
He's going to be revealed as the god of time.
Oh, okay.
That's how I think that this is going to end.
I was wondering. I was wondering. Actually, it would have been great.
It was the worst idea possible. And then, and everyone went, "Yeah, that could be."
It would have been great if when Shruti actually got to meet all those lovely fans, he just turned around and said, "So who's been writing this fucking crap?"
Yeah, no, he wouldn't.
I think the problem.
Tell me his name.
Yeah, no. The problem is, if this idea would have been done 10 years ago, when we hadn't had multiple attacks on the fandom, when we hadn't had multiple showrunners telling fans that it's not a democracy and you're wrong, and all the stuff Russell's been doing the last couple of years on social media, if we'd not had all that bad will built up and built up and built up, and then we get fans on screen with some cringy dialogue, with, like Gary's right, the most on the nose, he's got a scarf, he's got all the stereotypes going, we probably would have been able to take this with a lot more of a good faith, or a pleasant sort of, oh, that's cute. But I'm sorry, Russell, we're living in the current time that you have created this atmosphere, the people before you have created, that your actors have created by your lead telling people to touch grass before we'd even seen him on screen. So you can't then do let's have a fun little thing with the fans, and then let's have them give it a score out of 10 when the credits roll. You can't have it both ways.
It's very twee, isn't it? It's certainly not.
You can be a friend to us or not. And I'm sorry, you've been a friend to a small minority of fans.
He's not a friend to you, Rabbi. He hates you. If you're
I
not
know.
part of his elite club,
he hates all of it, and we hate you, Russell.
Like, Russell, I want my money back. Actually, it's pathetic. Like, look at that pompous piece of shit. He is actually sabotaging his own show out of spite. It's pathetic. These people are pathetic. Sorry.
I don't like meta stuff, generally speaking, and I'd rather they not have done that. Not least of all because I do feel it punctured the actual episode, which I was really enjoying up to that point, and I enjoyed it afterwards as well. So it's just simply not to my taste, and I did find the way it was portrayed, just as you said, Rabbi, a bit clean, a bit twee, just not my thing at all. That being said, I did receive the scene differently myself. I mean, it's weird that this episode gets broadcast with that scene in the same week that he makes a statement on a radio show saying he had no time for complaints from online warriors, to dismiss even part of fandom as again, online warriors.
That's what I'm saying. This seems like
in that way. You know, I don't like that, if you know what I mean. The scene didn't break the Whoniverse for me. I just would rather they not do that. For me, Doctor Who is not. I just don't like that meta stuff. It just doesn't work with me. Yeah. Having said that, for me, I felt that scene was done with a lot of love, and actually made a statement that that the series brings people together, and that's something that I found to be true. Well, here we are, Matt.
Yeah,
we're here.
I agree
and so
I never said. What did I say?
I do think I did. You went.
I agree with you.
I coughed. I nearly choked on my tongue. All right.
So, accepting that I must make it clear that stuff is not to my taste. I don't like it in movies. I don't like it in other TV shows. It's not my thing. But I didn't feel. A great many people apparently felt quite insulted by it. I personally didn't, because I do feel that he was saying, even though those fans were only representative, just as I think most of us here have said, it's only in one form or another that it's only representative of a certain kind of fan, the kind of fan that Russell does seem to like to kind of figuratively like to pat on the head. So there's that, which I don't find that very appetizing. But the general tone of it, I did feel, Rabbi, was that what he was saying is that Doctor Who brings people together, and I can't have a pop at him for that.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I think he was trying to be nice. I
was a little confused.
Misjudged.
I was a little bit confused when he actually did hop out of the TV. I thought like they were in like an episode of Gogglebox. I didn't realize that they were fans. I just thought that this was
that would have been clever.
Well, yeah. We've seen that there is that trailer going around with them being in other shows. So that's what I thought it was. It was going down into that zone, like The Apprentice and that.
Into that. They could have had the Doctor and Belinda going from show to show to show, and then pop out of that TV.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that he was on a film strip and then all of a sudden he was on TV, it was like it doesn't. Yeah. It just totally. It didn't make any sense. Plus, it just was like in the future, and I was like, why is he coming out of a widescreen?
I agree with you. I agree with you, Dan, about the meta. I think, Dan, I agree with you. The only time I think for me the meta has worked was in Moonlighting. That's the only show where I think the fourth wall breaking worked.
And they did it very, very sparingly.
Yeah, I don't mind it when it frames. Didn't Mike Hammer used to do that? Was it Mike Hammer that Stacey Keach used to play?
Which one? I don't remember that.
Didn't he used to do that?
I just remember there used to be a girl on roller skates that was the only meta bit I can kind of remember. Is that there was a woman that was always in every episode on roller skates, and he didn't know who she was.
I'm very conscious of the fact that the time is creeping up here, and we haven't connected with the live chat. So I want to go and take some messages from over there and see whether they're all smiles or whether it's popcorn being thrown in the aisles. Let's go and see what they've got to say. Yes, where real fandom can be found with real opinions here in the live chat on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. Thank you for being so patient with us, everybody. We have a lot of people on the panel, a lot of things to get said, a lot to air out. Spaceballs says Fly Highland, who's watching on YouTube.
Yes.
Hi, Fly Highland. Good to have you there. I don't know what. Oh, you mean the film Spaceballs? I thought it was just a general kind of insult.
Where they're watching themselves on the TV, like, when is this happening? Yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed Lee Smith's comment was Sledgehammer, and he's right. That was the one that was meta, not Mike Hammer. In Sledgehammer, he was always
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had the comic books. I loved them.
We've got several mentions of various shows and movies like that. Elvis Jones has joined us on YouTube and agrees with you, Chris. He wasn't bringing people together. Russell was having a pop at a section of fans, and Elvis found it disgusting. These are the same fans who put Russell T Davies where he is now.
Yep, it's.
I wonder if Elvis Jones is a fan of the cartoon. I'm just wondering.
Could be. Here's the thing that I wonder: if you're a Disney investor and you are interested in making a profit, when you have somebody who's actively sabotaging, something that's supposed to be making you money.
Dude, they just had an investor meeting.
Yeah, I know.
And they could have voted for an anti-woke takeover, or they voted for more of the same. The investors voted for more of the same, and that's the week before Snow White came out. They voted like, what can you do, right? They literally voted. It's because Disney ran a very good PR campaign, the board, and they're going to win those things. So there's nothing you can really do other than buy the company, which we can't.
I just can't wait to see these people crash and burn. And I don't understand how RTD could have a career after this. Like, Jesus Christ.
Jodie Whittaker still gets work.
Oh, I know.
As a narrator.
Still gets work. You go, how could that happen? In any sane year, who could have? You know what? I think Chris Chibnall's so awesome. I'm going to pay him large sums of money.
Why not just have him write the season finale at this point?
I mean, I like somebody does that, and then there's other people in the office all wearing business suits. Say, yes, that's a good idea. We should get Chris Chibnall to write that for us, right?
Well, they got desperate.
Maybe Rabbi, maybe if Chris Chibnall comes back to write the season finale, maybe it'll turn out Rosa Parks is the big bad
it'll
of the
just
season.
Get worse. No. There's no off ramp. It's going to fizzle out in 6 episodes. Thank God. We've got the War Between the Land and the Sea.
This is Disney. Watch them give it another season because they obviously don't care about money.
Same place that made Snow White could happen.
Yeah, like they didn't cancel Snow White. They could give this a 3rd series out of spite.
You know what they should do? They should have Doctor Who made by the Muppets.
No. We like the Muppets. We don't want the Muppets dragged.
Okay, who would you cast as the Muppets as a Doctor?
Okay, we've got to look at the comments here. People have been waiting a long time. Cloud SSJ4 says that again. We're getting a lot of comments here about those scenes in particular. And this is what I was when we came on, Charlotte. What I said. Do you think that they will overshadow the rest of the episode?
Yeah.
And it seems like they may well. Cloud here says it's a lazy and stereotypical representation of the fans. And Lee Smith says it's Doctor Who fans sat in their asses, hugging their Doctor Who mugs. TARDIS Travels disagrees with me. I don't know what about, but it's fine. I was probably right, but you can disagree with me if you like. Lee, we've got Lee in the live chat as well, who suggests that he basically wrote that fans don't matter and that we are nothing in all caps.
Yeah, exactly, Lee. That is exactly. You are nothing to these people. You are lower than scum. You are plebs. They don't even want you watching this because obviously people are going to keep giving them money anyways. And there's still some people that will keep watching out of desperation. But yeah, what I have to say is don't support this crap. I feel bad enough that I'm having to watch it and give it a view. You need to let this die. To be honest, unless you're doing reviews or something, don't even hate watch this crap. And honestly,
if you're not doing reviews, that's insane that you're watching it. I don't understand.
Like there's no.
I know that you love it. I don't understand why anybody will watch this for pleasure.
As an animation fan, I was actually kind of intrigued by this particular episode out of all of them. I don't care about the rest. I just wanted to see the quality of the animation because someone's worked really freaking hard on this.
Great.
For that part. And I kind of feel like as someone in that industry, I need to be obligated to, at least appreciate it and to,
it wasn't the regular production team. So yeah, they obviously let the diversity DEI checklist go for that one and got somebody that knew what they were doing. The Scooby-Doo animation type was probably done by the regular animation team.
No, not yet.
I hated him being Velma. Like again, that's more just gay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's Scooby-Doo in Doctor Who now. What? There's all these references to shows that we never got when we were kids.
That was deliberate. It's known how much we hate Velma, so of course he was going to say that. That wasn't by accident. That was intentional.
We've got I'd pay Sally Wagenblatt's in the live chat, and she says I'd pay Shooter Gatwa not to appear at a convention.
Wouldn't that be great?
We've got Shelley Ingle speculating on Mrs. Flood. We were told that the scene at the end of the episode featuring Mrs. Flood was going to rock fandom to its foundations.
No.
And she was barely in it, didn't say anything. anything revelatory?
Wait,
Shout
who
out.
said
It's
the
so
rock band
clear
to do its
now.
foundations? Was that Rusty Davis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go,
It's-
Charlotte.
You.
It's so clear now. She's just going to appear in an episode and go, "Oh, it's
Oh.
going to go bad.
Yeah.
Oh, the finale's going to be terrible." So,
I'm going to break the
I'm
fourth
fed up
wall.
of you
There you go.
Look at
already.
me.
As much
Oh,
as I love Anita Dobson, I felt that it was a fuss about nothing as well. I think this is scant stuff. It feels very undercooked. Peter Harrington loves a party with an atmosphere, just like Russ Abbott. He's channeling Russ Abbott.
There's no
I
kind of
thought-
atmosphere. Peter.
I don't know about you, but I thought the guy that was in the milk bar was a little bit just on par with Camp as Shooty was. He just seemed a little bit too fruity for me. I was just
Well,
like, are we
his,
going to turn around and
he's
tell him
very
his
fruity.
backstory about
But
how he got?
his outfit, his waiter's outfit there is a little bit sort of
don't
Hello
know.
Sailor, I suppose. I don't know. He seems like a perfectly decent actor for a small part. Cybermat Strike says back in the 90s, going meta was a trend with old established franchises. It was usually the end of those franchises. With hindsight, you could. Did the X-Files ever? Did anybody remember? Did the X-Files ever do it, Gary? Did they ever go?
Did they?
Not
What?
cartoon. Oh yes, they did. The
Animation?
Simpsons.
They did
The Simpsons.
No, break the fourth wall or get it meta. with
No,
the
but they
X-Files.
had that
Did
one
ever
scene where it looked like an actual cockroach was crawling across your screen.
Yeah,
And-
that
and
was
it-
in season
I-
2.
listen,
I think
listen.
there might have been something in the final season when the show decided to take crack. That was the strange season. I don't know. There may have been. It went off the
There's
rails
a lot
near
of
the end.
strange things they did.
Well,
Yeah, it's like they did an
Little,
episode like Cops, so that's
That's
Yeah.
right. That's yeah.
yeah. So that's
I'm
fourth
not
wall.
saying the little sailor boy thing was gay, but there is going to be on OnlyFans little sailor boy and Adric man on man love, right? Within the week.
Bobby D75. I can't possibly
Sorry.
read that out. We don't comment on any of the content creators here, but I can't possibly go there.
We're getting a lot of those lately.
9-inch Niels says, we exist in our own little bubble here. 9-inch Niels says, I've never watched a Saturday stream before. Is it always like this? Yes.
No,
Well, we
not
don't
normally.
usually-
We normally on Saturdays we do a different stream altogether. No,
Yeah,
I'm usually in a much better mood when I'm doing that. But
I really feel like we're vandalizing Type 40 right now. Facebook is a dirty hive of scum and villainy. Facebook's for nice people.
yeah, this is there's a reason why I don't do Doctor Who streams very often, and you're seeing why I don't do them at all anymore.
We
do
need more
appreciate
of
you.
them, though, Chris. We
We
really
do.
do.
No,
do
it's,
appreciate your
like I've
company,
said,
thank you.
I
We
will
like
do the
all
occasional one.
opinions here. You know.
I have to take people at their face value, and if somebody says that their phone's run out of power, then I have to accept that at face value it's run out of power. But yeah,
It's well, we can agree we can agree to disagree, Dan. It's a little coincidental when it happens 2 weeks in a row, and he takes his avatar off the second I appear.
Oh.
And I don't like shills, and I don't like cowards.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'll just say it right here.
like
If you want to have them on, that's fine. I will not be here. I'll come on some other time. Just don't have us on together again.
Price of
that's
Reason
all.
says I was unhappy with this episode as well, and he's going to do some sort of make some sort of content about it. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Price of Reason on YouTube.
Absolutely. He's great.
Good day, everyone, says Kelly. Jack Thursby says it's hard to support something, even a little, when it comes from a nasty place. It's mean and spiteful at its core. I think that is. See, I feel that's overstating it, but I can completely understand why people feel pushed to that place and responding in that way. You reap what you sow, and I do feel that this is all Russell T Davies' own fault. The last episode was far worse, says Lee Smith.
I actually preferred that last week, to be honest with you.
I preferred this. I enjoyed last week's. I did. I won't pretend. You all saw. I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed this week a lot more. Cloud said, in this case, I have to agree with Dan. Oh, thank heaven for that. Somebody does. The episode wasn't preachy. No, I don't think this was preachy at all. I'd be more annoyed by the meta scenes. Go ahead, Chris, says Peter Harrington. And
I will know, Peter. I'm holding back. I could have been a lot meaner than I was. Y'all,
Oh my God, Chris, hold back. Can I just say, that'll be better if you. There was a thing called Pandora's Box where they said don't open it because all the evils in the world will flood the world. That's true with your feelings on current Doctor Who. Hold back. Is what I'm saying.
Hold back. I thought it was great. This was just wonderful.
Matthew says, an episode is phenomenal when both Ian Levine loves it and grifters online are arguing about it. Russell T. Davis has smashed it out of the park, says Matthew, watching on YouTube. I haven't spoken to Ian about this one. I know that he was apoplectic last week, so I'm glad to see he's happier this week.
I thought he liked last week. Did he like last week's one?
No, I don't think he did. I haven't actually spoken to him for a few weeks, but I'll be reconnecting with Ian Levine very, very soon. If Ian's happy, yeah, fair play. More of the same, though, according to Peter Venkman fan site. It is very divided this week, very divided. If you don't like it, says Katie Waldron, don't watch it. The problem with that, and hi, Katie, thanks for the comment. The thing is, though, Katie, a lot of people have made that decision. They don't like it, and they have indeed stopped watching it. So how far do we carry that? Do we carry that through? And is this a strategy for making television? There is no more market for making TV that nobody wants to watch than there is for tin baked beans that nobody wants to eat. Now, is there? So I know that sounds. It's the kind of thing that sounds great. But when you think about it, it doesn't hold together at all. But I really thank you. Thanks for the comment. It's a new name. Always appreciate anybody new that drops in.
Charlotte's got to go, Dan.
Yeah.
The problem is, Dan, we do want to watch it, right? That's the thing. We want to watch Doctor Who.
I think a great many fans don't understand that. They don't see that. They don't see that like that sort of kinship with football supporters who turn up for a struggling team to support them in the terraces every week. Charlotte. Again, thank you. We've got a bit of a gap now until the next stream, but I'll enjoy the rest of your Easter, and I'll catch up with you next week. Thank you again for coming.
Charlotte.
It's been lovely to be on with some new people as well. So see you guys soon.
Bye bye.
Love you too, Charlotte.
Take care.
See
you.
Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. We've got
really quickly. I just want to say that something I noticed in last week's episode, which watching this one became really clear to me. I just think that they should change the official title of this show to RTD's Doctor Who, because this is certainly not Doctor Who to me. It seems to me that these episodes are basically RTD's therapy sessions given a big budget and set to music. Because every episode since he came back, we've gotten a taste, hints here and there of aspects of his kind of general hate. Last week, we got some of his white guilt. This week, we got like a heaping helping of his self-loathing. And I think his mocking and contempt for Doctor Who fans, of which he used to be one, translates to me as self-hate that he's just projecting out. And if he seriously claims, as he did this week, that the show is not polluted with his own agenda, that's delusional.
Yeah,
if he's got so much hate, he'll be great as either Catholic or Orthodox Jewish. That's his problem, right?
I can't understand that either, too, Rabbi, because he turns around and he has that woman, that dead woman, turn around to him and say, "Find me." I was like, where's
point? I'm going to do a deeper dive review tomorrow, but that's got to be a plot point they're going to follow up on, right?
Sonny Waffles has joined us.
This is RTD.
He's the guy with the best story. I would agree with him. I'm going to agree with him.
It'll never be mentioned again. Yes, Sonny Waffles states that it's easily Gatwa's best story. As an actor, as this version of the Doctor, I completely agree with you, Sonny Waffles. I think it is his best performance by quite some way. I saw some improvement last week, but it was there were still lots of stuff which, there was high kicks and ridiculous turns of phrase. With here, I was almost impressed in a couple of places. I say I've almost figured out why they cast him. Almost.
Really,
I agree with you.
Everything he does seems like he's offering to go down on me. I just it's weird.
It's the dialogue, though.
He's very eager and willing.
Dialogue.
Somebody mentioned Russell T Davies repeating himself a lot earlier on. Was it you, Goldie? Somebody mentioned Russell T Davies has been repeating himself. And I certainly think that his era has, because James mentioned The Idiot's Lantern and The Unquiet Dead. I mentioned it earlier on. It sprang to my mind several times throughout this, sometimes in a good way.
Next week's a sequel, apparently.
Sometimes in a good way, Rabbi. As I said earlier on, the dynamic between Belinda and the Doctor very much reminded me of how Rose and the Doctor were in The Unquiet Dead. But this was just an absolute steal, as Stephen Braddock said. I think that's why the conclusion, I would have given this a really quite a strong rating had it not been for the conclusion, because although Linus Roach was superb and it was well realised, it did feel like I'd seen it all before, Gary.
Listen, I think this episode,
20 years is a long time. But
I think if you can put it through a filter which swaps Judy Gatway out for Tom Baker, be way better. Because Judy Gatway is just a deal breaker. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he's just.
I'm not blind
to do that this time next year.
I'm not blind when I see positive, like things I like in the episode. As I've said, I liked the animation, the little black and white on his wife. I thought was very touching. But overall, there's just still too many things which just rip me out of my losing myself in the episode, and I'm just tired of that.
I think if they'd also stayed in that era rather than just taking us straight out, it felt really weird.
This episode would be better with two stories. Don't you think? The story,
possibly.
I think there's a lot there to be fleshed out.
They could do a lot worse. They need to look at the format of the show again if it is to continue, because it has outgrown the 45-minute one-shot format. 2 30-minute episodes, maybe delivered on a Saturday and a Sunday with a cliffhanger in between. I don't know.
Is it the shortest now it's ever been? Because it feels like it used to be 50 minutes.
It isn't the shortest it's ever been, but it has shortened again since the Capaldi era. Cyberman Strikes is really worried that they're elevating the Doctor into a god. I wasn't earlier on, but I am now. Was it you suggested that, Rabbi, that that's where they're going with it?
I think that he's going to be the god of time. I think that's going to be
the more I think about what you said, I do worry about this. I'm not interested in that at all.
Dan, do you think that whole scene of him using his regeneration energy as the instant thing? Don't you think something like that eliminates any jeopardy? Because all he has to do is shoot himself up with some regen energy. There's no risk to him anytime whatsoever.
It has an unlimited supply of weirdly.
Yeah.
Like the villain
he
keeps
it in
he's still got some. He's fine.
Well, we saw the regeneration effect that many times during the Capaldi era. I was sick of it by then. Didn't he play a practical joke on Bill with the regeneration effect?
Yeah, that was in the month 3-parter.
I'm not the biggest Verada fan, but I tell you what, that scene I actually liked. That her response to that was like, "Let me look at that," because that's what she's a nurse, isn't she? She's not a doctor. So her response would be, to do that.
I agree.
But then, of course, he had to show off, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm out again,"
In fact, if I could have an AI that could replace what's her name, Martha, in the David Tennant episode with rather see-through, I'll go for that.
Other than that, she's insufferable.
My main issue with this whole era as well is that Russell's characters, now that he's written, they don't talk like real people. And this was very evident last week where those robots bash into Belinda's home and she should be amazed, like, oh my God, what's happening? There's these big, giant, bulking sci-fi robots, and she's just like, oh, you better leave my landlord. He's an angry man. He won't like this. And that's not a natural response. Whereas with Martha, with Donna, with Rose, every time they would encounter something that obviously they haven't seen before, it would be, oh my God, asking the Doctor, clenching onto him, what is this? What? And I know the Doctor wasn't there at that point, but again, just a realistic reaction I would appreciate, but nothing comes across as real. It feels like they are saying lines, which when you're watching something, that shouldn't be the case. It should feel like you're watching these characters in their world. And I think when Ncuti leaves the TARDIS in this and he sees the time setting in, he acknowledges it's 1952 and he makes that comment that, well, maybe it's good that no one's out here in the street. And then he looks at his hand. Right. That's all you need to establish for the historical context relating to his race. But when they get to the diner and he has to literally spell out to Belinda, oh no, because we're in the 50s, and in the 50s things were segregated, therefore we cannot be in here. I feel like that is just so on the nose. She would know about the time. I think Belinda's in her 30s. She's supposed to be in her 30s. She would know about this historical context. She wouldn't be totally oblivious. Now I get that Russell putting that in there is explaining it to the audience, perhaps younger people who aren't aware of that. But again, you have to incorporate that more naturally. But everything these characters are saying, it doesn't feel like it does feel like they are characters, which it shouldn't come across that. It should feel like we're watching people.
Goldie, but if he hadn't have told her then, when would you have suggested that he did? 10 minutes later, when they're actually in the diner? When she's faced potentially with the situation?
Here's what I think they should have done.
When they first left the TARDIS. He did say it because he looked at his hand and he goes, and you knew... Do you remember this, Dan? Like when he got out and he looked at his hand because he was talking about the error, and I'm like, oh, here we go, and I was just like, that should be it. That should be enough. But no,
I think what they could have done, they could have explained it. They didn't have to use a line of dialogue. Here's what could have happened. Belinda could have questioned it. He could have tapped onto her. No,
it was essential. It was essential to voice that, because this is a family show.
But
there are younger people watching
anyway, because he's black.
In an adult drama, he could have looked at his hand and that would have been enough. You're quite right. But in a family drama, no. In my view,
I realise that, Dan, but here's what I propose. What Russell should have written in, and this could have been done without a line of dialogue. She could have questioned why they aren't allowed to be in that diner, and then he could have tapped onto her, and with his hand directed her over to a sign which says no, in whatever word allowed, and then that would have conveyed that message and much more subtly. That's what I think should have happened.
Or they could have done it in a very Doctor Who way, where he could have just made some offhand comment. He's like, with all the wonders with all the things I've seen in the universe, it still, boggles me that they're so obsessed about something as trivial as skin color. Something like that. That's like an offhand thing that would speak to the format of the show, but yet get the point across.
Didn't he destroy
I like the idea
TV?
Of pointing at a sign.
Didn't he destroy the TV as well? I'm just wondering, because like the logo's on there as well, because they make it so meta, and I was like, but hang on, he pushed the screen out, so that shouldn't have a screen. It shouldn't even be working, and that's not even the way that they leave.
Yeah.
I
think you're overthinking that there, Matt.
I
don't think you're navel gazing a bit, mate.
Now, and the only reason I'm referring to a previous story is because it is the sort of same historical context, because as we've already established, this episode is in a similar period. But so obviously, Dan, you've expressed that they needed to address that sort of thing and how they should have addressed it.
They didn't need to, but I felt they didn't need to, but I can see why they did. And I, for example, speaking to a lot of people out in the fandom, there's from certain people out there, they're quite keen to see that kind of situation addressed, if not head on, then addressed in some way. And I think it was harmless. So I don't think they needed to, but I think the way that they did it was perfectly adequate and not. I don't think it drew any attention into any corner in an unnaturalistic way. It certainly didn't bog down or interrupt the driving story. It didn't make the story into a story about segregation. I mean, I can't really believe we're talking about it for as long as we are. It seemed that inconsequential to me. As I say, I liken it to telling a story about wartime Britain or post-war Britain, where you mention the fact that there's food shortages and rationing. It's just part of the fabric of the culture that they are visiting.
The mistake they made was referring back to it. This very lengthy scene of where they walk in and they're going to be thrown out because they're black and be arrested, and it was all a fake thing, right? Going back, that was a bit, because it highlighted again that was a mistake, right? I think the way they dealt with it,
seconds of screen. It's seconds of screen time,
seconds and that were wasted when they should have been building character. Again, more I think about this.
I don't agree.
Mr. Ringading really
fine with it all.
I would like to see a lot more of him. I would like to be much more scared of him. Yeah. And I think there was a lot of potential.
He was terrifying until the stuff with the fans, with the three fans. He was a terrifying character, the kind of character that would have stayed with children that are watching this now. The very few families that still, he would have stayed with them. He would have stayed with them for years and decades afterwards. Now I think it's going to be remembered. I've got this creeping feeling, judging by the chat and the conversation we're having, that this episode will be chiefly remembered for the appearance of the 3 actual Doctor Who fans and the breaking of the 4th wall. That's a pity.
The thing is, I agree with you, Dan. I was actually going to say that I agree with you. I think, like you, that the whole racial aspect wasn't forced as much as in some other stories. The only thing I do take objection to is the Doctor having to spell it out for Belinda. No, but what I was going to say is that at least this is better than in Rosa, where they have them literally slapping and throwing around slurs, which that is very on the nose, So I was going to say at least it's better than that.
Well, that was a story about segregation and a poorly written one at that.
I will say that, I'm being totally honest, I was actually honestly surprised when the mom and the policeman showing up in the theater. I was actually surprised that wasn't real. When they said, "Oh, this is another fake," because I wouldn't have been surprised that they would have had the mom and the cop. I thought, okay, here's Russell doing his Russell thing, with all of that. And I was shocked.
I liked that. They say, that's an NYPD police uniform. I like that. That's
actually, that's another thing. Like, does that mean if these fans still exist, does that mean that they're trapped in that apartment for the rest of eternity?
I don't think they don't exist is the impression, but I don't think we're supposed to think about it. It's just a bit of fun. It's a bit of nonsense.
Matt, look for the Big Finish 5-disc set of those 3 characters coming soon.
The thing is,
and the whole 5 people that will buy it.
The thing is, it's quite natural.
It'll be a sitcom.
It's quite natural. It's quite natural, Matt, to ask those questions.
Yeah, no, because it's logical.
Julianne, good. People are different.
If he'd have just left it and not gone, it was weird as it was. But if he'd have just left it, that would have been fine. But he didn't. He just had to keep going and say, "Oh no, they're okay."
It did for me when they pulled the TV back and they were sat on the sofa. That it made me laugh, and I.
Well, I thought that was Jodie Whittaker talking, and I thought, I'm going to see Jodie Whittaker.
I felt it was done.
I know. I
felt it was all done simply to entertain, and as I say, even though that stuff is not to my taste at all, if I feel that the intention is largely pure, then I will either turn a blind eye. I think, well, it's okay, so it's not for me. But there was no harm intended. Yeah.
Speaking of pure intentions, I'm going to go to bed. I'm not going to tell if my intentions are pure or not, but I'm done for the night. Whatever's going on here is going to be less discussing what's going on over here.
Thank you for your time and your company, for calling in, mate. It's my pleasure. Better next week, buddy.
Rabbi.
Take care, Rabbi. Rabbi from another planet there. The awesome YouTuber. What's he say? Freaking awesome YouTuber. That's what he always says, isn't it? I made the mistake of watching this week's episode, says Julian Goodwin. I won't make that mistake again. It turned into Russell T Davies contempt.
Okay, can I give Julian? Thank you. I need to give you a medal. We're gonna pick comment of the week. That's gonna be the comment of the week. Dan might disagree, but that's my pick for comment of the week. Do not tune into this crap.
Gatwa's Doctor has no defining image. He's just Russell's mannequin. Well, I think he's certainly a mannequin of the costume department. I think they're having a better time than he is. Maybe the TARDIS perception filter is like the HUDs, suggests Philip Roy. The Doctor forgets to switch it on before he leaves the TARDIS.
Great point, Philip. I mean, at the end, everybody can see the TARDIS. And Philip's exactly right. It's like, what happened to the perception filter?
They forget these things because they're idiots.
Couldn't we have a perception filter for Shruti? I mean, I don't know. Like,
just take him out of the episode completely. Yeah, I'd be up with that. But then we'd have the other one.
Look, I don't mind if there's a companion episode.
Well, we have okay, so we like the edits. Okay, so somebody just make a re-edit of this episode just with Ding Dong, whatever his name is. Just use that. Take everything else out, and there you go. Just watch that.
It wouldn't surprise
I'd
me.
like
if
to
there's
see the
not,
original cartoon that he was based on.
Wasn't there a cartoon called? I was going to ask you this the other day, Matt. Like something like somebody goes to town or something.
Mr.
Wasn't
Bugs Goes to Town.
was that
or
a
something.
Fleischer?
Fleischer.
Okay.
That was Fleischer's pretty much last ditch attempt to try and take over from Disney.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that they said they referenced this character. Am I right? Because I had trouble understanding them. As you will know, I need subtitles, and unfortunately, this episode I couldn't watch. There was no subtitles. So, is he an ant? Did she say, "Are you an ant?"
I thought it was a bug, like a cricket or something.
Well, I thought he looked like more like an aardvark or something, but you know,
I think what it is Belinda looks at his nose and says, "Are you like a pig?"
Because it's like a snout, isn't it, Goldie? It's almost snout-like. I did wonder what but this was a kind of style of animation of the era, wasn't it? That they're trying to sort of evoke.
Yeah.
And I'm often whenever I watch cartoons of that time.
I'm thinking of Merry Melodies or something.
Yeah, I was going to
like
say
that,
by the 50s, we already had the Warner Brothers stuff starting up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
and then he said that, you know, I don't know. There must have been a reason why he was showing the cartoon. Maybe there was were they there to see the Rock Hudson movie, weren't they?
Well, but I mean, that's what they used to do back in the 50s. You would get a
Yeah,
newsreel,
I forget
you'd get maybe a featurette, you'd get a cartoon, one or two, and then you'd get the coming attractions and then the movie. It was like a whole big program back then.
Yeah.
But that was one thing, Dan, I just wanted to ask you that I thought they should have done more with, because I thought that was an interesting concept. They seem to imply that Lux got the idea for ascending or whatever from the newsreel about the atomic explosion, that they were implying that he got that idea. And I thought that was a really interesting idea. They should have done more with that. That's what gave him the idea, unless I misheard. Maybe somebody in the chat.
No, I didn't pick up. There's several things people have mentioned that I either didn't pick up on at the time or didn't register with me at the time. Just getting sort of rolling along with the story. So you're probably right. It's quite.
No, I'm not sure. That's what I'm saying. I'd have to go back and see if that's what they were trying to do.
See, with Alan Cumming, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Alan Cumming, but I thought he did a really good job in this. Especially since, you know, he has got form for, you know, cartoon characters. He did the Great Gazoo in the Flintstones movie, and he also was in Spy Kids playing, I think it was henchman or something like that, and he ended up being the major villain in that. So, you know, he does have some acting chops. I mean, I think his Nightcrawler is awful, but I don't other
like him
than
in the
that,
X-Men either.
No,
in fact,
and
I'm not a fan of Alan Cumming at all. Come to think of it, I don't find him particularly funny or charming, and I
like the fact that he was also the narrator for the explosion as well. So it went from that to the cartoon. So he did it like, you know, you wouldn't have picked it, but I mean, I'm pretty good at voices. So you know, so it was good that he does have a range, that's for sure, in the voice field. I don't think he's the greatest actor in the world performing. But
having said that,
certainly
I'm about to go back on what I just said. I thought he was probably the only person who was a guest star of any real value who delivered in the entire Jodie Whittaker era. I thought he was fantastic in The Witchfinder, to the point that it almost made that episode watchable. I have never gone back and rewatched it, but he was great. He was good in that, to be fair. And I probably have seen him be good in other things. I just she's done that much. Yeah, I just don't like the guy. But,
GoldenEye, love him in GoldenEye. Awesome.
Dan, if you ever tell me that you went back and rewatched a Jodie episode, I know that you were replaced by a pod person.
I mean, maybe I will one day, but I just can't imagine any circumstances. I just can't imagine any circumstances by which I would. You know, it's like that. I mean, yeah, never.
Well, I threatened to go back to it because I was so mad about last year's, and they told me, "No, you don't." Charlotte told me off. She said, "You're not watching it."
Stephen said they should call this show Dr. where Dalek Lives Matter suggests that any
True.
decent actor could have voiced Ding-a-ling. Why pay Cummings price range needless? I did wonder about that. I feel that they could have gone to any one of a number of people who perhaps work, because that enormous field of actors, Matt, that work on anime.
Not only that, but he's also that I'm looking at the hypocrisy too, because Disney likes people to be of their own nationality when voicing these characters, and so why have they got he's Scottish, isn't he? So why have they got him doing an American accent? I don't know. So I'm very interested in why.
I think it's simply star recognition. They think if they slap Alan Cummings going to be in this episode, even if it's voicing an animated character, they think, this is not the case, but they think people are going to go, oh, I love that guy, I'm going to check in for that episode. Same reason why all these big animated movies have got all these actors who, they're not the greatest voice actors, they're just using their voice, but they think they'll slap their name on there and it'll get loads of recognition.
I've just remembered as well, Goldie, I believe that Alan Cumming is the host of the American version of that hit BBC show, The Traitors, that Claudia Winkleman hosts. So it could be something to do with that as well, Gary.
I saw, I don't watch it, but I did see like an ad promoting like a new season with him on it. So you're totally right.
There you go. I'm not imagining things. After all, the theme of this season, of course, is Get Her Home. Get Belinda Chandra home. We've got another 6 installments, 6 weeks still to come of all new Doctor Who season 2. It seems we've got to make the most of it while it's still on. If you are enjoying it, because it's not going to be on for a hell of a long time afterwards. So each subsequent episode is going to drop on Saturdays. Type 40 Live will be watching, so make sure you're subscribed and notified. In the meantime, if you're waiting to see what we thought of this, it's up. It's now streaming on BBC iPlayer in Britain and on Disney Plus in the rest of the world. So get over there, or maybe not, based on what we've said on this off-the-cuff live reaction show to the episode, and get back to us in the comment section as well and let us know what you think. As always, we're all ears. Or if you do watch it again and maybe you like it a bit more or a bit less, that's allowed to. Hit us with that as well.
The same way again.
We're back. Yes, I thought that might keep everybody quiet for a little while.
I'm not going to say anything.
Yes, so you've heard what we've got to say here on the High Council of Type 40 Live on our live raw reaction show to that very latest episode. But what do you think? We'd sincerely like to know. Get in touch with us by all means. Whatever your mood is fine by us. So more comments, lots more comments. So Peter Venkman says that he's a Disney actor and probably shares Russell T Davies' views. Well, most of these actors, they are hive-minded, aren't they? It's part of the...
That's the industry. That's the industry that they're in. They've got to be, or they don't get work. And he is being quite. I mean, look at all that work he's getting in America right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's so rare that they don't agree. That's why when actors, actors are revealed,
when he was Nightcrawler and that was 20 years ago. But in recent interviews and that, he's been quite nasty about the whole thing, And then I'm like, oh, now he's in.
And yet
they've brought him back as Nightcrawler again.
And yet he's back. Yeah, he's back. Thank you, everybody, for all the comments. Don't get me started on the traitors, says Robert. A happy Easter. We've got Happy Easter from Liven's Flame. Not the Mind Probe, says Gary. We've got Bubes, says Lord Thoth. Good to have you back, Lord Thoth. My folks in the live chat and Type 40 panel, happy Easter. Until next time, sending hugs joy, and love to you all there from Rose Kirby. Thank you, Rose.
Thanks, Rose.
They've just probably got the new trailers are coming out for next week's episode already. Whoa, says Fly Highland.
Oh, the boobs.
Yeah. 42 days to go until the finale, Matt. So it's not all bad news. Yes. So
Yeah,
we need to
that was
hear
actually
more.
one question I was going to ask. Is it so? Am I correct in thinking that the May the 26th reference at the end is that the day that Doctor Who is supposed to the final is supposed to be on?
I believe so. In fact,
right.
Oh, maybe not. Oh, it's the day. It's the day of episode 7. So the first part of the finale.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So it's all going to kick off. When it's all going to kick off there. Lots more Easter greetings in the live chat. Hoppy Easter bunnies, says Lee Smith. Same to you. More Easter greetings, of course. Get them into us. Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who there, or join us in the Type 40 Facebook group as well and have your say, not just about this week's episode, but everything else as well. Tell us about your Easter, if you like, if you've got any more. If you've been on Easter egg hunt, for example, if you've got any more Doctor Who fan art as well, all that's more than welcome there in the Type 40 Facebook group. Get involved and send in your feedback from the smartphone in the palm of your hand through SpeakPipe. You can get involved with the podcasts and the live streams by sending us a question, a prediction, a comment, any kind of feedback at all, constructive or otherwise. Let loose if you have to there on SpeakPipe. Type 40 Live on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook is your companion to this whole season of Doctor Who with these live instant reaction shows. The final season. Maybe. It could be. It's looking that way, isn't it? So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed and notified and all of that. And there's the regular Type 40 live streams as well for the very best in news, views, nostalgia, discussion, and banter from 8 p.m. Mondays and Thursdays here on the Type 40 YouTube and Rumble channels. Okay. I think that covers just about everything. I want to say thank you to the other panelists who've popped off. So the Rabbi from another planet, as always. My God, you never don't know when he's on a panel, do you? Thank you to the Rabbi. Thank you to Charlotte Shields and to James Wilson and to everybody here. And to everybody here that's still with us as we close out. Gold. So yes, Chris. So have you made your video? It's cooking at the moment. When can people look forward to hearing the next chunk of wisdom from Camp Bowles Trek?
Its voiceover is done. I've got to edit the video, so it'll be up at some point tomorrow.
There you go. Get yourselves over to there.
It'll be as delightful as always. So yes, watch, don't watch. It's up to you. Join the comment section. It's hilarious.
Only another 6 to go, Chris. Only another 6 to go. Next week is the Well. So here they are looking dressed in blue. Look like Blue Beetle, don't they, from the DC universe?
Oh, that's
in
right.
These new blue spacesuits going. Disappointed that the orange spacesuits aren't in evidence, but maybe there's a plot reason for that. And we'll find out, I suppose, when this kicks off next week. The Well is the next episode of season 2 of all new Doctor Who. Broadcast time, I think, has been announced, but I haven't got it to hand. So you have to keep.
I think you said, if I remember, on Thursday you said 7:15.
Did I? Well, that was this week's.
Or no, sorry.
Maybe. I mean, hopefully, it would be nice if they kept it in the one place for longer than a week, wouldn't it? Because I do think that's why they lose the general public when they bump this show around. It really does put off the punters. But there you go. They never seem to learn their lessons, sadly. So yes, that's episode 3, The Well, coming next Saturday there on iPlayer and Disney Plus and on BBC One. Type 40 Live's back next week. Of course it is. We're off for Easter Monday, but keep your eyes on the channel, everybody, because there's more content coming your way. Make sure you're subscribed and notified for some of that. Guys, I hope you're going to enjoy the rest of your Easter weekend. Gold, it's great to have you on the show. What else have you got planned? And where, if people want to hear more from you, where can they find you? You do social media. Which platforms do you do?
Well, as for like social media, that's just X. But no, I do have a channel which is same name as you see down there, and I'll do my review. Probably be out tomorrow as well. So that's all I've already. That's all I've already got planned.
Concentrated gold from Goldie. Matt, I'm really grateful to you for getting up again and for having your. I do hope you got it all out. I got the impression
You should be. You should be. No, I didn't, Dan. I'm going to have to do another video on this. I really am. I thought I was going to, but I was saving it for you, just for you, mate. So I was. I just, yeah, that's all right. But like, I didn't get it all out, so I need to rant a bit more. So, but I was being polite.
Good stuff.
But yes, you're welcome, Dan. I'm quite happy to have watched that episode for you, mates.
So
but that's it now. I'm gone.
Thank you anyway, mate, and happy Easter as ever.
Yeah,
Gary, same to you, mate. Happy Easter, and
Same to you, my friend.
Brilliant stuff. I'm glad. Like I say, I get the impression you're somewhere along similar lines to myself with this. It's not the worst thing you've ever seen. But the more I think about it, how I'm feeling now, you see, with these, because these aren't what I would term as review shows, they are raw reactions. So the things that all of you guys have said, I think, oh, yeah, oh, right, and oh, God.
Yeah. Well, you know, what I like, what I don't like, I really didn't like. That's kind of where I fall.
Yeah. Who knows where we'll be this time next week. There's still a lot to see, a lot to roll out, even if there doesn't seem to be much more of all new Doctor Who left. Get every bit of new scrap of news and gossip that we find out when we can give it to you there on Type 40 Live. We'll be back in a few days with some more of that Thursday from 8 p.m. Happy Easter to everybody out there in the live chat, however you've been watching. Get us some more comments as well, by all means, and we'll get right back to you. Okay. Yeah, we always have the time. If you have the space here at Type 40 Live, enjoy your Easter. Don't eat too many eggs. Actually, no, go nuts. Go nuts. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.